Hi, good morning. This is A Big Issue. You're welcome. My name is Selom Adunu. We are live on 97.3 City FM. We are also live on ChannelOne television, also on our socials, and we are always happy to have you join us. The show is live and interactive. Feel free to join us with your comments, and we'll be happy to read those comments out to the rest of the world. On WhatsApp, we are on 020-444-7033, 020-444-7033. Or 0549 986 996, 0549 986 996. It's a show where your views are valued. It's a show for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. This morning, we have three key issues for you. The first one has to do with the media budget review. The Finance Minister, Mohamed Amin Adam, for the first time read the media budget review. The question is, what was in that budget for you, or that media budget review for you? Were your expectations met? Says the government is cutting down on its, there's going to be a downward review of expenditure of a sort, 2.1% or so. Are you pleased about that? Where is that going to come from, etc.? Some 9.9 billion cedis was spent on free SHS, and some 5.7 million people have been beneficiaries of the program so far. Some 10 billion cedis also spent on road projects this year alone. That is huge, which means that a lot of roads in your communities and other places are getting done, which has been a cry of many people. Are you feeling it? And a few other things, the exchange rate and a few other things. The minister says that he's seeing some stability. Is that the experience you have on the ground? Does that reflect your situation? Also, we will look at some politics, election 2024, a number of things happening. The NDC launches its campaign in Tamale this afternoon, and we'll be there live to bring to you every single thing you need to know about that particular event, the side interviews, the main podium speeches, etc. We'll be there. You can trust us to bring you every bit of information. Also, aside from that, the NDC's opponent, or the ruling party, flag bearer for the ruling party, Dr. Bawumia, is also in the northern part of Ghana. He's been touring the place for the last 1 month or so. The northern part of Ghana appears to be the battleground for this main election, especially because the two main candidates are from that side of town. That part of town really used to be an NDC place. We don't really know what is going to happen this time. Dr. Bawumia is determined to eat massively into that, if not to win it. But the NDC is also resolute on holding closely to that which has been theirs for many years. We'll also look at this shameful matter of the Ghana Paralympic team, the amputee national team that absconded in Norway. We want to understand what the processes are. Why did they run away? Is it strange? Is it novel? What really happened? What are the processes? The Minister for Sports says that he cannot be blamed for the incident. Is that really the case? It's called out the Norwegian embassy for failing at due diligence. We want to understand all of that and tell us what you think. We'll be right back after this short break. I'll introduce my guests, provide some updates, and then we'll get the show underway. My name is Selom Adunu. This is The Big Issue. You're welcome. You're welcome back. This is The Big Issue. Three key issues we are looking at this morning. The first one has to do with the media budget review. What are your views on what is happening on the media budget review? No new taxes. No tax has been scrapped as well. The status quo does appear to remain. A number of things we heard, is being done. Road construction is being ramped up. 9.9 billion cedis spent on free SHS. Lead beneficiaries list goes up, and a number of things happening in that budget. Government says that exchange rate really has stabilized. Looking at the year-on-year numbers, it does appear that some gains have been made. Indeed, last year around this time, the rate of depreciation was around 22%, but this year, Minister says that it's 18.6. Some marginal gains made there. How does that reflect in your life and in your business? We want to know, and that is part of the discussion this morning. Also, in some politics, the NDC is launching its campaign in the northern regional capital today, Tamale. Meanwhile, Dr. Bawumia has also been touring the northern part of Ghana. We'll look at all of the analysis. The northern region is a key battleground, or so it appears this time. Who wins that region? Last election, the MPP did better than they've done all along? Is it the influence of Bawumia, or what is the cost of the Bawumia service on the ticket this year? Is that the reason why the NDC decided to launch its campaign in the heart of the North, Tamale? We'll look at all of that. Also, the Ghana Paralympic team went to Norway, and they ran away. The government says that they didn't go on their ticket. They did not know them. They are not members of the team. Their coach unfortunately died, and a lot of matters have arisen therefrom. We'll look at all of that as well this morning. But in the meantime, to provide you some updates, government says that it has paid some 12 billion cedis to bondholders under the domestic debt exchange program in a move to stabilize Ghana's economy and restore investor confidence. Presenting the media budget review to Parliament on Tuesday, July 23, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam emphasized the government's commitment to fulfilling its financial obligations and ensuring economic stability. The Finance Minister detailed how this payment aligns with the broader strategy of economic recovery and growth. The following report has more.
The Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, was in Parliament on Tuesday to present the 2024 mid-year budget review to the House, as well as the general public. Now, as part of the presentation, he announced that measures are underway to make payment of 6.1 billion Ghana cedis coupon to bondholders in August this year.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that government has made substantial progress since the completion of the domestic debt program in September 2023. We've successfully honored 2 coupon payments, with the second payment of about 5.9 billion Ghana cedis in February 2024. Furthermore, we are on track to make the third coupon payment of 6.1 billion Ghana cedis in August 2024. The timely payments of these coupons will undoubtedly improve investor confidence in the domestic market and bolster the overall economy.
Dr. Amin Adam also disclosed that Cabinet has approved a framework for the reintroduction of road toll in the year 2025.
The Ministry will continue the deployment of the Ghana.gov payment platform to remain in public institutions and ensure that all those already onboarded go live. Additionally, the outstanding activities for the full rollout and utilization of the gift mix for the processing of IGF expenditures will be completed by the end of the year. Mr. Speaker, government will also develop a framework for the reintroduction of road and bridge tolls to facilitate the processes for the implementation of a modernized and efficient road and bridge tolling system commencing in 2025.
He also touted the government's successes in stabilizing the exchange rate as well as revamping the economy.
The last 2 years have been extremely challenging globally, and Ghana has not been an exception. The difficult economic environment has truly affected businesses and families, particularly the vulnerable in our society. These challenges have severely affected households, increased cost of living, and limited the creation of job opportunities. Our young people continue to seek employment opportunities beyond what the state can provide. Mr. Speaker, it has indeed been a difficult time, and I deeply empathize with our fellow Ghanaians. Exchange rate has largely stabilized compared to December 2022, despite the recent pressures. The 18.6% depreciation rate to the US dollar as of June 2024 represents an improvement over the 22% recorded for the same period last year. And gross international reserves reached 3.1 months of import cover as at end June 2024, against 2.5 months of import cover in the same period last year. Mr. Speaker, it is evident that we are on the right trajectory. The economy is rebounding stronger than anticipated. The choices we've made and the policies we are implementing are yielding results. We've reversed the negative trends. All the indicators are looking better. I want to assure you that we will stay on this path and continue to make the right choices. Our economy is recovering, and the recovery is fast and strong.
He also announced the introduction of paternity leave and the extension of maternity leave as part of a draft Labour Bill 2024 to strengthen administration and the regulation of the world of work.
Mr. Speaker, government, in collaboration with its social partners, has developed a draft Labour Bill 2024 to strengthen labour administration and regulation of the world of work. Key reforms proposed include strengthening labour migration governance, improving employment coordination, extension of maternity leave, and introduction of paternity leave, among others. The labour law is expected to be promulgated before the end of this year.
Well, after the presentation, there were concluding remarks from both leaders of the House.
Ghanaians expected that this media review would have removed or abolished a number of taxes that has made Ghana a high tax regime to the extent that businesses are moving out of our country and the ordinary Ghanaian is actually leaving the shores of this country. For example, COVID levy, e-levy, boiler tax, tax on domestic electricity, emission levy. Mr. Speaker, this is a missed opportunity. This is a missed opportunity. Mr. Speaker, instead, the minister did not announce one single new policy. The minister did not introduce new ideas. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, Ghana is on autopilot. The minister has simply told us that today, 2024 budget, 6.5 billion has been allocated for the NHIS as compared to 1.6 billion in 2016 by those who are in opposition today. I mean the John Mahama government. Mr. Speaker, leave. These are mere comments, introduction. These are not debates. Mr. Speaker, leave. Mr. Speaker, leave. As of 2016, when they left and they couldn't perform and they left, it was just 49 million that they spent. Mr. Speaker, today government is spending 423 million Ghana cedis to cover many people, many of our vulnerable. Don't introduce unnecessary debate. Remit yourself to the facts. Because the rules, Mr. Speaker, per the rules, he is not supposed to debate. He should know that. In any event, if they are ready for us to comment, Mr. Speaker, we are ready today. We want to comment on the minister's statement. But looking at them, they are not ready. Mr. Speaker, looking at them, they are not ready. You guys are not ready. I can see from your faces. You are not ready.
All right, so that was a report on the media budget review. Let me introduce my guest for this morning. Fred Agbanyo is the NDC parliamentary candidate for SAL, for Guan constituency. Fred Agbanyo, of course, is a former communications officer for the NDC. Pagriv Boachi Dankwa is government spokesperson on governance and security. Dr. Fred Bano is an economist. Professor Patrick Isuming is also an economist, and of course we have Franklin Kujo, who is president of Imani Africa. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the program. Let me start straight off with Professor Patrick Isuming, who joins us on Zoom. Prof, good morning. You're welcome to the program. You listened to the media budget review. There was no new tax handle introduced. No tax was also scrapped. The minister says he did not come to ask for more money, and he expressed the view or the hope that government will spend within its means, especially this being an election year. What were your major highlights of the media budget review?
Good morning, and good morning to my fellow panelists and to viewers. So I think in the main, the media budget statement was exactly what I expected. that there were not going to be many new economic policies announced, because notice that this is only a mid-year budget. The main budget has been read, and we are in an IMF program where a lot of fiscal parameters have been sort of determined. So it was an opportunity to get an update in terms of how we've done over the course of the year, as well as if we need to change any of our targets or our projections. And that's exactly what happened. So we heard that we are going to update, the growth rate is going to be updated so that we will grow faster than we initially projected. And otherwise, most of the targets were kept the same. I think on the fiscal side, we learned that revenue has slightly underperformed, but at the same time, we are still going to mainly be within our targets, because the savings from our interest payment, our scheduled interest payments, the savings that we've made because of the external debt restructuring is going to help us to still keep within our targets, even though it looked like the revenue had underperformed slightly in the first half of the year. Then the rest is obviously being told again that the economy is recovering strongly. And as usual, we had the regular macroeconomic indicators being read to us, that showing that the economy is recovering. From my point of view, recovering and strongly are not descriptions I will give to the economy as we know it today. I think the finance minister is right to say the growth rate of last year is higher than the revised target from the mid-year budget. But we have to understand that even the higher than expected growth rate was still lower than the 2022 growth rate. And we all see 2022 as a really bad year for the Ghanaian economy. And yet, the growth rate of last year that we say is higher than expected is still lower. So, yes, of course, we set a lower target and we beat it. But it doesn't in any way tell us that the economy is in a strong footing. And I think when we also look at what has happened with the growth for the first quarter, I think the headline number looks great. 4.7 completely beats the expectation that we set for ourselves. But I think when you begin to look into the details, then you see where the problems lie. I think there are 20 subsectors that when we count the GDP by production, we see 6 of them saw contraction, including a negative 8.5% growth rate by electricity sector, which is quite problematic. It just tells you that the struggle that we've been having with the doomsaw and all of that are not completely over yet. So that problem is also there. But I think it's important that we don't measure the progress of the economy only by the GDP growth, without paying attention to where the growth rates are coming from and what the extent to which Ghanaians are benefiting. I think if you go on the street and you ask many Ghanaians, what they will tell you is completely at variance with what the finance minister is saying, that the economy is recovering strongly. That's because we've seen other data sources or other more granular data sets from the Ghana Statistical Service that tells us that multi-dimensional poverty is getting slightly worse. The percentage of the youth who are neither in employment or education or training is increasing. And I think we all know, even though the headline number tells us that inflation has sort of stabilized around the 23 to 25% range, we know food inflation still remains a problem. So I think when you put all of these things together, clearly, I think a statement that the economy is recovering strongly is a lot of overstatement. Then I think the other thing has to do with on that score has to do with the exchange rate, and the finance minister and then also sometimes the vice president like to tell us that the rate of depreciation in the first half of the year this year is lower than last year. That may well be true, but you see, when you focus on that kind of number, it doesn't really communicate the damage that the depreciation does to the Ghanaian economy. Because when the exchange rate is at a lower level and it depreciates even at a higher rate, its impact on business capital is lower than when the exchange rate is at a higher rate and it depreciates even at a lower level. So if the currency is at 10 and you see a 20% depreciation, its impact on businesses might be lower than if the currency is at 15 and even depreciate 10%, because it simply wipes out, anything that you're trying to import. It means that you need more cedis. So I think simply quoting that the exchange rate depreciation is lower than it used to be doesn't really tell the full picture. The other thing is that it's the uncertainty that it brings. I think the volatility in the exchange rate is also extremely important. So it really makes it extremely difficult for businesses to plan. So it may well be right to say the depreciation rate last year, it was higher than the rate that we've seen this year, but it doesn't really communicate the full extent of the problem. Now, I think in summary, I mean, there wasn't much to expect from an administration that is coming to its end, especially for a mid-year budget review. But even then, I thought that there will be a clear communication of what a long-term strategy might look like. A long-term strategy that will help us address the persistent currency problems. Because if you look at the IMF the second review of the IMF document that we saw, it points to the fact that even some of the things that the government has been doing, some of the things that the interventions by the BOG, that it says has helped to stabilize the currency. The IMF is pushing for those to be removed. Talk about the gold for oil, or the gold exchange program, the gold additional gold purchase program, gold reserves purchase program, and even the common intervention, periodic intervention within the forex market by the Bank of Ghana. There's a lot of discussion about the need for government to streamline. And when we say streamline, we know where we are headed. So I think thinking about a longer term strategy for especially how we are going to finance the economy going forward. To be fair, the finance minister did mention that there's a pivot towards reliance more on private-public partnership. But of course, we need a lot more detail than simply communicating that, because I think investors will also be worried about recent happenings in the policy space by way of regulation. I think some of the regulation that's being introduced is beginning to look very problematic and sounding at more interventionist. That is not necessarily in the right direction. I think we've seen the LI that has been introduced regarding cement pricing, and we've seen price floor being introduced for pricing of petroleum, and some posturing that has been emerging in terms of accusations that businesses are over profiteering. I think all of those don't set good signals when you want to attract the private sector to become a major partner for government in terms of financing. So all of those are some of my takeaways from the mid-year budget that was read.
I see. Interesting. You do not have a lot. It does appear that not a lot of optimism from your side on the mid-year budget review, but that's fine. You say that you disagree if the minister says that we're recovering strongly. How, in a sentence, will you describe the economy then if you don't think that recovering strongly reflects what we see on the ground?
the stabilization that we saw is kind of stalling. So I think especially towards the second half of last year, signs began to emerge that the economy is stabilizing. Some of the difficulties appear to be we appear to be getting better handles on them. So, for instance, the inflation that we talk about, in the last half of last year, we saw a real sustained disinflation. That brought the inflation rate to just around 23% at the start of the year. But we haven't really seen much progress since. And the currency that appeared to be relatively stable some part of last year, this year has really come under extreme pressure. So I think whatever, towards the end of the year, we saw signs that there's real stabilization going on here, not necessarily recovery, stabilization of the unstable macroeconomic environment, but that progress has stalled in the first half of this year. So that's how I see it. At the same time, I think the damage that some of the things that we have had to do with the IMF program has done in terms of the damage that has done to the banking sector and the damage that is done to private businesses and Ghanaian households. We haven't really, so when we say we are recovering, we don't seem to pay too much attention to that. So we go about the broader macroeconomic indicators that have shown that government finances has improved. Of course, government finances has improved because we imposed a lot of taxes. We've decided to allow or to increase the electricity pricing more frequently. Utility bills have gone up, and overall cost of production have gone up. But because government finances has improved because of these measures, we seem to focus on that and forget about the real impact that it's having on Ghanaian businesses and households. And I think that's where I disagree. We shouldn't just say growth is higher than we projected without even looking into the disaggregation. We shouldn't just say inflation has fallen from wherever it was, and therefore the economy is recovering strongly.
I see. The minister also said that some 10 billion cedis was injected into the economy in terms of investment in roads, in the road sector. That's quite a lot of money. We should count for something in stimulating the economy.
So I think a nominal amount like that sounds great, like we are injecting in the economy. I think we have to start moving away from input to output and outcome. If you say you've injected 10 billion and we don't really see, it hasn't led to the completion of any project, assuming, I'm not saying that's the case, but 10 billion, how have you spent it? What is the value we are getting for that 10 billion? And you see, when you're in the difficult situation we have, perhaps spreading 10 billion over several routes, over several facilities, none of which will be completed, it's probably not as good as making sure that some critical routes are completed. And they don't lie with, and the problem we have. We're going to have an election, and we always complain about uncompleted projects. So I think we have to change the narrative and demand a lot more from our policymakers than simply saying, this is how much you spend. Because you will be told that this is how much you spend on free SHS, or this is how much you spend on one district, one factory, this is how much you spend on planting for food and jobs. It's not how much you spend that matters. What has that spending done? In terms of how much output are we generating? What has been the impact on people's ordinary living standards? At the end of the day, all these macroeconomic indicators, all these numbers we talk about, the most important thing is how it is impacting on the lives of ordinary Ghanaians. That's what matters. So it's a shame that when we present the budget, we focus too much on macroeconomic indicators and we don't even bother to present how many people have been lifted out of poverty. So we are happy to announce this is how much we spend, this is how many people we have given support to, without focusing on the end chain. What has been the output? What has been the impact on people? So I think, as impressive as 10 billion may sound to me, I think what I'm interested in, what exactly it has achieved, not necessarily that you spend 10 billion.
All right. So very finally, before you go, Prof, You mentioned the fact that we're in an election year. An election year comes with its demands. We are in an IMF program as well. The minister has promised to stay within limits. You know, how do you think that the government should hold a balance? It's a very critical election. Whilst government officials and campaign are going around campaigning, there'll be demands made, especially on roads, etc. Government wants to win, the party wants to win the election. How do you think that the finance minister should position himself in order to stay within limits, despite the demands that may be coming?
I think on that question, there are some good things that I saw in the statement, and that is that there was some implicit admission that all the rules that we are promising or we are expecting that will be done will not be done. And those expectations didn't come from space, of course. We were told that a lot of the rules have been halted because of the debt restructuring, and that when it is done, they will be resumed. But we clearly know from the IMF statement, as well as part of the budget, that we are now going to reprioritize because there's going to be a cap on disbursement. Even the project loans that was agreed before we started the IMF program, following the restructuring, not all of them are going to release as expected. There's a cap, I think about $250 million a year or so. So what that means is that we are not going to get all our roads fixed. So in the budget, they listed a few priority roads that they are going to focus on. So I think it's good that that information is given us so we manage our expectations. On the broader question about whether we should, we will stay within our limit and not overspend as we usually do in an election year. Well, it's good to hear the commitment and the promises, but we've been here before. And government always promised that we spend within our limits, and it doesn't happen. I mean, as of today, I'm not expecting that the government will spend within its limit. For me, it's a matter of how much extra or how much we go over our limit. I don't think we'll stay within the limit. And especially when you hear, out of the blue, some additional 1.5 billion for financial sector cleanup. And then it appears that, midstream requests can be made and can be granted like that. So that particular announcement, what the finance minister made, I think when he was somewhere in the UK, and also repeated it in the budget, tells me that, there could still be room for those kind of overspending. And don't forget, the spending.
Oh, I think we're having some difficulty with the connection to Professor Sumi, but I think he largely made his point, and we'll be happy to reconnect with him. But he's largely made his point. He also answered the final question from me when he went off. Let me revert to my in-studio guest, but let me also say that Dr. Fred Bano, who is also an economist, is on. I'll take the views from in-studio, and then I'll get back to him just for some technical analysis as well. Dr. Palgrave Wachidankwa, government spokesperson on governance and security, is here. Fred Agbanyo, soon to be honorable parliamentary candidate for the Guan constituency, is also here. And we'll be joined by Franklin Kujo as well. Of course, you heard Professor Patrick Esumin, and as I mentioned, Dr. Fred Bano is also with us. So, Doc, I mean, it feels nice to call you Doc. I never knew you were a PhD.
Yes, I have. I actually completed my studies about 3 weeks ago, graduated with the Nobel International Business School.
I see.
At Tatakwa-Sheba. My certification comes from IPACH Business School in Paris, France.
Wow. So what's a PhD in?
My focus really is on servant leadership and organizational citizenship behavior among public sector workers in Ghana. And I use a moderating role of task interdependence.
I see. That's interesting.
I've always been a proponent of servant leadership. I look at all the various dimensions of leadership, altruistic calling and laissez-faire and democratic and autocratic, and I think that one of the best leaders is when you're able to pull out servant leadership.
So given all that you've learned, not to digress, given all that you've learned in servant leadership, you are in governance, so how do you juxtapose what you learned to what we are seeing on the ground as practiced by your people?
Oh, well, you see,
will you say that your people are reflecting servant leadership as you learned it in class?
What I will say is that having looked at the SIGA reports, which is what I use for my studies and my sample, I would say that the state-owned agencies, about 70% of the leaders practice servant leadership.
How about the political class proper, the proper political class?
You see, political leadership is very different. And if you
are serving the people,
if you are servant leadership and you are practicing political leadership with your servant leadership hat, then you become an extraordinary leader.
So you don't think we have any extraordinary leader in the government?
Well, I think that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for me, exemplifies a lot more of the altruistic calling, of the persuasive mapping, of the organizational stewardship and the emotional healing. I think that he cares so much about the Ghanaian people. If you look at the dimensions of servant leadership that Babito and Wheeler put together in 2006 in their publication.
I see. Interesting. Anyway, that's great. Dr. Pagri Mwachi Dankwa. Feels good. All right, so the budget, I mean, Professor Sumi, clearly a technical person, thinks that we may be overly optimistic when we say that the economy is recovering strongly. He doesn't think so. He thinks that the stabilization we saw last year into this year may actually be stalling, and it's not as rosy as the minister would want us to believe. That clearly is not a good indication for a person like you.
No, you know, I looked at the mid-year review budget, and I must say that it brought a lot more refreshing to the Ghanaian people and even to our government. If you, and I heard Professor Patrick Esumain talk about the fact that he's not been able to see what we have done in the road industry, and I'll use this opportunity to let him know how much money we have invested beyond the 10 billion Ghana cedis.
I think his point really is that, yes, it sounds great to say you have 10
yes,
billion.
It's 10 billion.
But we need to focus on output and outcomes rather than input.
The ongoing roads, and I'll just tickle into that before I come into the major ones, is that there's the Draboso Boniza ongoing roads, there is the Winneba Kaswa ongoing roads, there's the Karaga Town roads, there's the Gushegu Town roads, there's the Tolon Daboya road, there's the Nanton Karaga Gushegu Highway, which is ongoing, there's the Shreshi Yosu Town roads, there's the Accra Kumasi road, there's the Debiase Esikam Menshia road, there's the Entry Ej Krom Debra Camp and others, there's the Sunyani Brekum Inner roads, there's the Tebubu roads, there's the Sinfosu Dunkwa Koko roads, there's the Kwewu Tafo Mansia roads, there's the phase 2 of the Tema Motorway roundabout. There's a construction of the flyover, Accra Tema Motorway from the Flower Port roundabout around the Spectres area.
Yeah, so we know all of that.
No, but Prof doesn't know.
No, Prof's point is that we need to focus on outcomes and outputs rather than inputs.
One of the statements
and
that
how
one of the
this has
statements
impacted
that
the people's
one of
lives.
the statements that Prof made was that he doesn't want to make a statement of the fact that we have invested 10 billion Ghana cedis, but he doesn't know what we have used that to do. So I'm letting Prof and the rest of the Ghanaian people know what we have used that 10 billion Ghana cedi to do in addition to other things. The phase 2 of the Obacha Bay Lamte interchange and auxiliary works, the Dome Kitasi road around Brokusu going towards Ebri, the Agona in Kwantau road, the dualization of the Otema in Saum of Angkor road, which is ongoing every single day. I use that road because that's where I live. There's the completion of the phase 2 of the interchange of the Swami interchange, and a number of works that are ongoing. For me, if I look at the fact that the economy is growing at about 4.7% compared to year-on-year of about 3.1%, I'm encouraged. When I look at the fact that we've been able to have some breathing space in the Ghanaian economy with domestic debt exchange and external restructuring within the space to be able to do a lot more work in the country, I'm encouraged by that. When I look at the fact that the government is looking to point in about 8.2 billion Ghana cedis into SMEs, and you are aware that SMEs contribute about 80% of the Ghanaian economy. I'm particularly encouraged by this. I'm also particularly encouraged as well to see the level of involvement in terms of social intervention programs that our government had to do. You talk about LEAP, you talk about free SHS, 5.4 billion Ghana cedis, and all of the available investments that we have made. I mean, I think that Prof should have a real look at it again, because if you look at the value chain of what our government seeks to do, and if you look at the fact that 12 billion Ghana cedis has been paid to the domestic bondholders as we speak now, I mean, as they have had to accept the fact that we are all going through the challenges.
12 billion cedis paid for which period?
Oh, well, under the review. I mean, under the review, when did we do the DDEP? We have just gone into we've just received the third tranche of the IMF, which brings us to about a total of about 1.6 billion US dollars, because we've had 360, and 360. So we're coming in a bit at a time when we've done, I think that the period of the DDEP would be from about last year thereabout, if you recall, just when we came into the IMF program. We've been able to raise and pay bondholders about 12 billion Ghana cedis. It's a strong reflection of the fact that the economy is becoming stronger. And if you look at the indicators, I'm very certain, really, that before this year goes to a close, we would be able to have a lot more respite in the Ghanaian economy, as the Minister for Finance has assured all of us.
But you see, the problem is a lot of people feel that a lot of these things you say do not really reflect on the ground. So when you go to the market, for example, things are expensive, things are costly. So people were actually expecting, even though it's a media budget review, people were actually expecting some indications of what is to happen in the future. So we talk about food inflation, for example, very huge, and that affects the headline inflation. People go to the market, I mean, three pieces of tomatoes costing so much. It wasn't the case before. And these are the real bread and butter issues that people complain about when they talk about things being hard. You know, you take money, maybe 1,000 cedis, you don't even know what you do with it, and it's finished. You know, but the rate at which you are getting money is very slow. So it makes things very, very tough. So despite all the nice things that the minister may say, which you've re-echoed, it doesn't appear that these things are trickling down, and the people really every time continue to complain. Of course, people will always complain, but if the complaints grow and appear to be louder than before, shouldn't that be an indication that things really are not going well?
No, well, Salam, I don't think so, because you see, if you look at the fact that now, like I stated, government is going to pump in about 8.2 billion Ghana cedis into the SMEs. SMEs are about 20%, 80%.
But government has always pumped money into the SMEs.
Well, yes, you know? I mean, through the GEA, through the Development Bank,
and what's the output? What's the outcome really? I mean, what do we see? Do we see that affecting job creation? Do we see that affecting people's disposable incomes? I mean, how much of that can we measure? Really? Especially as we know that multidimensional poverty is increasing, is growing. A lot more people are out on the streets, not in school, not in employment. All these indicators don't look good, and they are at variance with all you are saying.
No, a lot of people are in school. I mean,
no, but this is a government statistician speaking. 1.9 million people are out there. Not in employment, not in school, not in training.
It was a data of about 13 years old to about 35 years old. I mean, you look at the data from the YEA in terms of youth involvement, about 90,000.
But hold on,
90,000
if 15 to 35, a lot of those people would have been absorbed within the free SHS brackets, the TVET bracket. They should be in technical universities.
I would give you the data.
In universities. And aside from all of that, they should be in employment. If we say that we've pumped so much into SMEs, you know, things are well, 1D, 1F have created jobs. We need to see a lot of all of these people getting into jobs, if not in training or in school.
No, I mean, I'll give you the data. I'll give you the data of free SHS of the people that have been involved in
we
free
have 5.7 million people, the minister tells us.
Absolutely. 5.7 million people invested about 9.9 billion
Again,
Ghana cedis.
Professor Sumi's point, that's input and not output or outcome.
No, but then if you look at TVET, okay, TVET and skills, I have here from 2023 to 2024, 168,000 enrolled. You look at the 10 STEM schools that have been built across the country. I mean, if you look at the northern part, Ashanti region in Tepa, we have distributed close to about 900,000 of the tablets that we have given to the senior high schools.
Yet to distribute or distributed, because there were issues recently that the tablets have not been distributed. Not to even talk about the teachers' laptops. No. The tablets were yet to be distributed.
What I'm aware of is that the tablets are being distributed. It's a process. The tablets are being distributed. A number of tablets, over 900,000 of that, they
will be distributed.
Yes, and in the process, they're still.
I don't know how much, or you don't know how many of those, because we had complaints recently that the tablets haven't come, and we had in the next few months we're going to see from the Ashanti region.
I'm aware that the tablets are in the process of being distributed. Okay. Now you see,
being distributed could be different from in the process
of being distributed. Being distributed.
Okay.
On being distributed. Okay. When I look at all the data, okay, that is available, it's not a picture of gloom. It's a picture of hope. It's a picture of the fact that, yes, I mean, we've gone through very, very difficult challenges as a Ghanaian economy. We've gone through very tough times, but the government is meeting these needs. I mean, we are addressing unemployment, we're addressing SMEs, we're making sure that we're restructuring our debt, we're making sure that we are investing into infrastructural works, and these are evidential for the Ghanaian people to see.
Very good. Fred, I mean, like Pagraves said, the minister also says that quite a number of things are being done, you know. But first, your quick thoughts on the review, quickly.
Well, Salam, thank you very much, and let me say good morning to our church viewers, especially the good people of the Guan constituency. The most dangerous thing that can happen to anybody is to have a leadership that does not take responsibility. A leadership that is refusing to accept the circumstances in which the people are. A leadership that lives in self-denial.
But the minister said that he acknowledges or admits that things were hard and that the economy was rebounding and that the recovery was strong.
Your pocket should be able to tell you if indeed the economy is rebounding or not. If I go to the filling station to go and buy fuel, and I know how much I was paying for a gallon of fuel a few months ago and how much I'm paying now, I should be able to tell that the economy is recovering. If I go back to my constituency and I see the number of young men who have even completed university and now all they are doing is Okada riding, and you tell me you are creating employment, I get worried by it. If I go to my constituency and I see people who cannot feed themselves when they go to bed.
But you see, governments like governments in the past have told us, governments don't necessarily create jobs; they create environment so private sector can create jobs.
What environment have we created now?
Quite a lot of money is being pumped into the SME sector. The SME sector, which is the largest in Ghana, will create jobs for these young people you are talking about.
I know you are playing the devil's advocate.
No, not really. I'm stating what the facts are.
And I was really surprised listening to my brother, and I would say that we are young people. The future of this country depends on us. And so sometimes we must not say that because I belong to the party or the government, necessarily I must defend it when it is wrong, right? We need to be able to confront issues frontally and speak to issues as they are. The reality of our situation is that things are tough, things are bad, nothing is going on in this country. As a matter of fact, the country has come to a standstill. If Pagraves says that, oh, the prof maybe doesn't know what they have done. If my road from here to where has been fixed, I don't need Pagraves to tell me. It's a road I drive on every day. If the Kumasi road has been fixed, you don't need Pagraves to tell the professor that they fixed that road. It is not enough to tell us the amount of money you have invested in a sector. The impact is key. Oh, several people are in SS. And these guys have finished secondary school. Go and check the university admissions. Go to the polytechnics. Go to the Nursing College of Education. Go to Teacher College of Education. Several of the people we claim we are training free at free SHS. So they finished the free SHS 3 years after. And the opportunity to proceed has become a problem.
How has it become a problem?
They can't get admission to the university because the facilities are not there. The university cannot take more people. Last academic year, I had a very serious with a young lady in Hawaii who had a grade 7 from SSE and applied to do nursing at Ho Technical UHAS. So the lady didn't get admission to do nursing. As I speak to you now, that lady's in the house.
Yeah, but you need to pass. You need to pass very well.
I get 7. 07. What does you need to do nursing?
So why didn't the person get through? Because
there's no vacancy.
Is a nursing institution or training college telling us that all the people they admitted for the particular year did better than at grade 7? Because grade 7 is even a candidate for medicine.
Well, maybe you are a journalist. Maybe you should go to, I've mentioned the name of the school, UHAS. Ask them to publish the people that have admitted and their results. And you'll be surprised the result people are churning out these days. And the school doesn't have the capacity, the facilities to be able to admit more people. Now, let's even move away from that educational issue. See, Shalom, it was President Rawlings who said something, that if economy is good or not, the only way you can testify or the only way you can tell is to put your hand in your pocket President Kufuor put in a better way. He said that.
So it's a cashless, it's a cashless economy now.
See, we are in a rainy season. We are in July. I don't know the last time you visited the market to even buy tomatoes. You are giving 3 fruits of tomatoes for 10 cedis, for 20 cedis. If you live in a house now with your wife and perhaps a child, 200 Ghana cedis cannot prepare a simple meal for you to eat. Meanwhile, the salaries of workers, the income of sellers has not gone up. And so, Pargrave, our situation is that dire. We are not, see, you can't live in a country. And again, when they talk about the things they've done, we have built it, the question is, how much revenue have you received within the 8 years that you've been in power? As we speak today, you pick our debt from 120 billion Ghana cedis to 743 billion Ghana cedis. And the question is, what can we show for?
But there are
You
exchange,
came
there
into
are exchange
office.
rate losses in between all of that.
Who is supposed to maintain it?
Nobody.
Am I the one in charge of managing our currency?
I understand that point. But
Yes.
to say that the debt is ballooned, presupposes that money has been received.
At the time they were
but
saying
not
that
necessarily.
at the time they were saying that the 120 was too much. That's debt from independence to 2026 or 2027 they took over power. Didn't you also have exchange rate differentials and difficulties? These are the same group of people who told us before the elections that a CD to $4 cedis to $1 was too high. Ghanaians cannot pay it. We are not managing the economy well. At the time, a gallon of petrol was barely 14 cedis. They said it's too high. Today, how much is a gallon of petrol? Almost 70 Ghana cedis. Almost 70 Ghana cedis. Because you need about 4 liters. Because a liter now is about 15 Ghana cedis diesel. 15, 16 Ghana cedis. And so the reality is that, Salom, we are not in a good place. Let's pick all the economic indicators one by one. And I even don't want to go into these academic issues because nobody is inflation this out. The reality is that they go to the market and go and check the price of goods as I've mentioned. You said you are doing free SHS. I don't know the last time you checked. If your son or daughter is going to any of these secondary schools today, the money you have to spend as a parent is far more than we're paying even 1,000 Ghana cedis as school fees. Today you have to make sure you get even food to eat is a problem. And you and I know the challenges. They are not even paying those who are supplying foods to the schools. Pargrave said they are distributing computers. Just a week ago, I heard teachers who said monies were deducted from their salaries.
But that's an entirely different matter.
How is it different?
The unions and government or the ministry.
How is it different? You took their money, not your money, that you were going to procure laptops for them. Till date, several of them have not received any computers. You told us we are going to give free SHS students some laptops or some tablets. We've been asked here, are you distributing? We are. We will. We don't know exactly where we are currently.
But you also admit that
I have
lead
listed
beneficiaries, the list has gone up. They are getting their transfers quite,
You see,
compensation grant is gone up, and there are these good things which are happening. Which
they are
are
not.
social
This
intervention.
you see, when you come and increase my salary by 15%, and you don't find out the purchasing power of that 15%, assuming I was buying 1 fruit of tomato like I said, 400 Ghana cedis, and now you come and increase my salary, and I cannot even get 10 cedis to buy the same 3 fruits. What have you done? How much are lorry fares? And so the increment in these capitation grants and the rest amounts to nothing. Because our money has become, you said, you can't do anything.
I see.
The money has lost its value. You see, the point I'm making is that, first of all, I want this government to admit that our situation is not the best. That they have mismanaged this economy so badly, that they've gotten so much resources since they came into office, and yet they have not put their resources to good use. They have either stolen their resources, they have used their resources on things that doesn't benefit our country. How on earth do you go and spend almost $58 million in the name of a cathedral? And today when you go there, the only thing you see is a big hole, nothing else. You pull down buildings. How on earth do you go and borrow money? And for a president, an old man of his age, to be flying around with a private jet, paying so much money.
But
When we
what's
have our
wrong
own
with the
private
president
jet,
flying with a private
don't
jet?
you have a private jet? Why don't we spend money in buying
No,
a
but if
private
that one
jet?
has a problem, or that
What
one,
problem?
that one doesn't
That
have the
is the
capacity
same
for
jet
what he wants to do.
with capacity.
Why would
with
he do that?
capacity to go and buy a luxurious plane, almost $18,000 to pay per hour. When we cannot, we're in this country. When the renal unit in Kolebu was closed down for almost 4 months because we couldn't pay that 4 million Ghana cedis, about 15 people died. You understand? So it is a case of misplaced priority. The government, well, maybe you understand. You are living good. All the things I'm talking about, maybe you are not feeling it. You don't buy fuel. You don't go to market to go and buy food stuff. Your children are on scholarship and they are schooling abroad. You don't pay medical bill. See, tell them, go to the pharmacist today and go and check. There's a drug I was using. I used to buy the drug around less than 100 Ghana cedis. The last time I walk into a pharmacy to get, and I take it for every 30 days, a BP drug. I walk into a pharmacy to go and buy the drug. A drug I was buying around 100 Ghana cedis, now it's about 450 Ghana cedis. Within a space of 2 months.
I see.
And so, maybe because you are not living in the same country with us, you are not living the same.
The president
No,
lives
of
here
course.
with us.
No, I don't think so.
He's
The
here
president
with us.
doesn't live in
His
Ghana with
ministers
us.
are here. Pagram is here. Pagram is spokesperson on
Maybe my
on
brother
governance and
Pagram
security.
may be feeling it a bit small, but it's difficult to say that.
I see. Let me speak to Dr. Bano. So Dr. Bano is an economist. Doc, welcome to the program. The politicians have spoken. Your colleague, academic earlier, made some interesting points. But, of course, the overview of the media budget review also important, but you can put in that. Your colleague, Professor Suming, said he had expected to see some real long-term strategy about how to address, for example, the depreciation problem. But that is not there. The issue about inflation is still topical on the minds of many people. People say things are hard, and it does appear to be the case. When you go to the market, things are expensive, foodstuffs. Food inflation is a huge part of the whole deal. What really, or did you get any indication from the budget which suggested that the government appears to have a hold on the factors that drive these hardships in the system and that they are committed or they are on their way to resolving them, in the context that the economy is strongly recovering, in the words of the finance minister?
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to your listeners, and greetings to your two panelists on the show with you in the studio. First of all, I think I listened to Professor Suman to some extent, and yes, I do agree with some of the comments he made, but also to some extent there are some that I think needs better clarity in terms of putting forward those arguments. Now, to begin with, when we talk about an economy, what is an economy and what are the key indicators of an economy? So that is very, very important to establish that before we can then move ahead and say whether we are making progress or we are retrogressing or we have actually reached a standstill. So if you want to paint a better picture of the economy, I mean, we know basically what the economy is. That is the daily activities of you and I, including our mothers and fathers who go to the farms, who go to the market to buy, to cultivate, harvest, and come and sell, and our mommies and daddies who also go to buy and also sell. So this is basically the economy, what each and every one of us does every day. Now, proud to the assumption of office by this government, what were the key microeconomic indicators? I mean, when we paint that picture, then it also helps the Ghanaian who is watching your show and listening to some of us from academia to also make a better understanding and informed decision regarding where we are and where we got into and why we've got into where we are. So, for example, if we are looking at the key microeconomic indicators, and like you spoke about inflation, food inflation has always been a bigger issue with the Ghanaian economy, and for that matter, the overall economy. Now, if you take your mind back to before 2016, you could remember that the same underlying factors, notwithstanding, are the same things that has more or less put us as where we are today. For example, if we want to look at our expenditure, I mean government expenditure and vis-a-vis government revenue, you saw that between that period from 2009 up until 2016, in fact, we recorded one of our highest expenditure, I think within the last 28 years or so, which was about a deficit of 11.6% of GDP. That was in 2012, actually. And that was one of the reasons that may lingered or reverberated in the Ghanaian economy, that by 2014, 2015, the then government had to also go for an IMF program. And within that space, you saw that growth rate was
I think Dr. Bano's line is giving a bit of a challenge. We'll resolve that and restore the connection and have him back on the line.
Data is not finished. Data has become very expensive.
In the meantime, we'll take a short break. We'll return and hopefully we'll have him back on the line. This is the big issue on 97.3 City FM, also on ChannelOne television and also on our socials. We are happy to have your messages. The text line is 020-444-7033. We want to hear from you what you think. How is the economy treating you? Did you hear the finance minister? What do you make of what he said? Are you optimistic about the immediate future of the economy? And generally, your views about what the minister says and what your situation really is. We'll be right back. Don't go away. You're welcome back. This is the big issue. Before we went for the break, Dr. Bano was making a point and his line froze. And we're happy to say he's back on the line to conclude the point he was making. Dr. Bano, you're welcome back. Apologies that your line went bad somewhere along the line.
It was about making a better understanding of the economy, the general economy. Then we can dissect the indicators and then maybe look at the outcomes. But what I was talking about is that if you look at the structure of the Ghanaian economy over the years, and I'll paint the picture before 2016, it is the same thing that you see today. I mean, it is an economy that over the years, in terms of diversification, in terms of value addition within the local aspect, that is the domestic aspect, has been very low. And for that matter, we rely a lot on imports. And for that matter, if you have such an economy, then you are more open and susceptible to global exogenous shocks, as we saw in 2020 and 2022. So obviously, that has been our economy in a whole. However, now when we say an economy is seeing an improvement or it has turned the corner, what do we mean? I mean, basically, there should always be a baseline. And I talk about the fact that before 2020, in 2017, in 2018, and in 2019, I think we averaged a year-on-year annual growth rate of, I think, about 6%. We saw inflation actually in 2019 hitting a single digit. We also saw the NPR coming down at a rate that we have the average lending rate going at I think, around 24, 26% within that range. But then fast forward post 2020 and 2022, to be precise, we saw all these economic indicators that were doing so well, having a downward, an upward trend. And to be precise, here is the issue of inflation. We saw inflation hit us as high as, I think, about 54% in 2022. We also saw some other indicators like our gross international reserve also coming down to a point whereby we had less than a 1 month import cover post 2022. So all these were some of the factors that culminated in Ghana going to the IMF, just like we did in 2015. So when someone makes a case that maybe we are turning around or we are seeing an improvement, basically what does it mean? So it is against this benchmark or baseline that you would be able to have a better assessment of that particular comment. So within that particular comment, my understanding is that it is in context, and it is very, very important to know the premise of that context before we can make a better judgment whether the person has really made a statement that is out of proportion or not. So like I said, so first, if we're looking at, we are in the first half of 2024, and if we want to paint a picture comparing to this benchmark that have already established, for example, the inflation which was sitting at 54%. So basically, inflation since then that is since the time that Ghana went to the IMF to seek an economic support. Inflation has seen a downward trend, and this is a fact that the data supports. So if you look at June 2024 inflation, we are doing, I think, about 22.8%. Now, generally, this is something that maybe one would say that we shouldn't be so happy about. But then in economic terms, once key macroeconomic variables begin to take a downward trend, then it is a clear indication that indeed some positive spends are being experienced within the economy. So for example, if you look at the calculation of inflation, inflation is a basket of goods. And I think currently we have more than 500 goods that goes into the CPI calculation. So when you talk about the fact that maybe inflation has seen a downward trend, it might not necessarily mean that the general price level of every good and services is actually coming down. But what it also means in essence is that there are also some critical determinants of that price buildup, which has seen some kind of reduction in their price level. So for example, I think in 2022, if I want to cast your mind back, we all saw the politics of the cooking oil. If it's something that maybe Salami, you remember very well that the yellow gallon or so of the fried oil was almost selling at about 1,000, 2,500 Ghana cedis. And I think the last time that I checked with some of your colleagues who I granted an interview were telling me that currently we are doing, I think, about 550, 600 or so thereabouts. So obviously, a product like that has seen more than a 50% reduction in the price that used to be maybe about a year or two ago. So when you are calculating the general price level, such high reduction in the price level would obviously culminate in this kind of decline that you are seeing in the CPI, or what we call as the inflation, which has seen a downward trend to 22.8%. Now, another critical aspect that we also look at it, and for me, it's very, very critical, is our gross international reserves. And like I said, before we went to IMF, we had something that could not even take us beyond 1 month import cover. Now today, if you look at the budget scenario that the minister presented to Parliament, we are also doing a GIR of, I think, about 6.9 billion Ghana cedis, which is the equivalent of about 3.1 months import cover, which comparatively tells us that in terms of our bill, that in terms of our reserve, we have seen some significant improvement. Okay. Then another most important thing that we also would want to look at here from the same budget statement over the years that had been an albatross on all government, especially in an election year, is expenditure. And if you could see from the budget, total expenditure, which was estimated at about 226.7 billion Ghana cedis in November 2013 budget that was presented by the former minister, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. This has been revised downwards to, I think, about 219 billion Ghana cedis. Again, in terms of the revenue generation, which has also seen some kind of appreciation in terms of the revenue generation, as the Honorable Minister said, I think from 172 to I think about 176, 178 billion Ghana cedis. And this is basically driven by the non-oil tax revenue. And you see, when you have an economy like ours and you have the non-oil sector taking a leap, though it hasn't really exceeded what we had budgeted for, then it sends you a better sign that in terms of the overall contribution of the economy, it is not just about your oil sector that is driving the group, but then the non-oil sector, which is led by the services industry, are also playing a critical role. And these are the places that you have a chunk of your population engaging in. So these are some of positive spends that you can pick from the budget. But then coming back to some of the things that my other colleagues have already said, and one of them critically is about the outcomes. You see, one of the things that, I mean, and this is basic theory that when we all go to school, we are being taught every day. You see, impact is continuous, right? Impact does not cease. So it is very, very critical to understand that you cannot implement a policy today and say, I am assessing impact, or to see what has been the outcome of what you can see is maybe the indicators, certain indicators that the policy will show that, okay, there has been a change in A, B, C, D. However, to be able to capture the overall impact or outcome of a policy, that may take a very long, sometimes not even during your own lifetime, but maybe when you are even dead and gone. So those are some of the things that when we are also using on TV, we should be very critical and not maybe mislead people in terms of measuring impact. Now, I also that you also posed a question about some 10 million Ghana cedis, 10 billion Ghana cedis that has been released into the economy. You see, my brother, you see, the truth is, and this you can read the academic literature. It tells you that, look, in a context like sub-Saharan Africa, whereby you have government being the major employer of people, anytime government spends, it has a positive impact on growth. And this is basic economics. If government fails to spend, and not just Ghana, that's why I'm making it in sub-Saharan African region, whereby we have a lot of the black-dominated countries we find ourselves. Now, anytime government spends, it has a lot of impact on the economy. Why do I say so? Because, you see, when you come to sub-Saharan Africa, just like the basic economics tells us that it is the duty of government to create the working environment and the space for the private sector to thrive. However, in sub-Saharan Africa, government is a critical player in the economy. You find government building roads. You find government building public goods. I mean, providing public goods in terms of providing health facilities, providing access roads, providing schools, and so on and so forth. And for that matter, if government is the main driver of these critical goods and infrastructure, then anytime government spends, it has an impact, because once we are building road, it is assumed that even if the contractor is not a Ghanaian, the assumption is that Ghanaians will be engaged in that particular construction, and for that matter, they will earn an income.
Very well.
If an extra health facility is provided or a school is built, the assumption also is that more Ghanaians who have completed from teacher training colleges or the health and training nurse institutions would also be engaged there, and for that matter, they will earn an income. So anytime government spends, it has this short-term impact on the economy. But then if you are looking at the larger outcome, like I said, that may take some time to be able to measure that.
Very well. Thanks so much, Dr. Frank Bano. Let me speak to Franklin briefly. Franklin, you're welcome to the program. The expectation before the media budget review was that some taxes like the COVID levy, etc., were going to be scrapped. It's not been scrapped. Rather, what we heard was a justification from the Deputy Finance Minister, I think when she appeared before the Public Accounts Committee or a committee, that the effects of the COVID, even though COVID itself doesn't, or it's not really there now as it used to be, the effects of the COVID are upon us. Free water, free electricity, a lot of other things we did around the COVID time have to be paid for, and that is why the levy is still there. The call for the scrapping of the COVID levy, was that not going to create a major shortfall in the government's projection? Because government had made a projection right from the beginning of the year, you know, which included revenue from the COVID levy. Was that really a legitimate expectation? There's the word legitimate. Was it a reasonable expectation that it would be scrapped, given all the things I've said about government's projection, etc.? And I'll take your general views also on the media budget review, Franklin.
Well, good morning to you. Good morning to my good friends on the other line as well. Look, you know, there's a certain conversation about taxes that I think we have to have in this country, and I'm sure most people really know. Even people who do not have a basic formal education are actually aware that if you give people some reprieve, especially for their own individual as well as business purposes, they tend to breathe some fresh air. You know, the challenge really with governments is that once they collect the taxes, and we know how our governments have behaved, look at the hemorrhaging we've experienced in terms of the way tax receipts are wasted. So there's a certain anomaly to think that it's only government that can deliver development to persons and individuals. I'm not too sure, sorry, to businesses. I'm not too sure that is the way we should be conceptualizing the essence of government. Government should be giving people reprieve, especially when it is
quite ineffective at distributing the so-called the so-called revenues that they receive. So for me, I always have an ambivalent approach to the whole conversation about taxes. If it is the case that COVID was the reason why we are still charging people the COVID taxes, uh, maybe there's some, well, you may want to say that somehow, yes, government needs to recoup money. But you see, in the face of all the wanton destruction that has happened to COVID money, you recall that there was a special audit done on COVID, all COVID receipt funds, by the way. And I think just only 25% of all COVID receipt funds actually were applied for COVID purposes. So it will be difficult for me to understand my good friend, the deputy minister, who suggests that because we are still reeling under COVID, we should still be given the opportunity to be taxed. I don't think that argument actually holds. And I think it's important that once that audit was done, all the persons who were head sharing money, you remember the whole conversation about party people sharing money in the northern part of Ghana, actually across the entire country, we should find a way of clawing those monies back. So I'm only just trying to begin my answers by saying that I disagree fundamentally with the purpose of taxation. Yes, there's some amount of taxation should go to government for driving infrastructure related purpose. Even then, you should even have private sector being part of it, really. I mean, I heard the finance minister talk about the insistence on using private sector bodies, which is a good thing, really. I think private sector, I don't mean chronic capitalist arrangement, by the way. I mean properly transparent private sector services should complement government, so the government will no longer continue to hemorrhage our taxes in the name of collecting it on our behalf. So I have a challenge with that COVID tax, and I think it's important that even though we are reeling under economic challenges largely imposed by our own doing, yes, we should claw back, but we can't claw back in the face of, in the face of the obvious hemorrhaging. And I have a word for the finance minister, who, by the way, I think should have been finance minister years ago, really, because I think at least he has his head screwed on the whole idea of trying to be prudent, right? But anyway, even that, I still see that this whole conversation about how do I put it, corporate tax is quite unnerving, because given all that we know, you can't tell me that in any case, I didn't ask you to come and give people freebies. I didn't receive any of the freebies anyway, but I'm paying. What's the point? So I think it's important that we have that conversation. So that would be my preliminary remarks on the issue of taxation. And by the way, let me add that while we are clamoring for taxation, we are still giving some away in a very expensive, how do I call it, tax rebate, right? No, these tax rebates are not scientific. They do not add value to the economy. And I think I've had word with the finance minister, who had promised heaven and hell, that he was going to make sure that some of the amounts were actually looked at. I hope he has done so. But I think, clearly speaking, this whole conversation about tax rebates, we must, how do we even call it again? Is it tax reliefs that we give to companies? We need to take a second look at that, because somehow we need to start asking
Tax
ourselves,
exemptions, you mean?
tax exemptions. I'm beginning to ask myself, what value do these exemptions actually add to the economy? If you are not able to do that calculation, I don't want to hear it. So in any case, yes, while you want to make us raise taxes, and when they are trying to raise taxes, they should also look to technologies that are useful and purposeful. I'm so surprised that the GRA constantly is in the news for promoting one very for lack of a better crooked technology or the other in the name of raising revenue. Then when all hell breaks loose and we are all shouting, they come and tell us that, oh, we've overseeded we've done so much, so that then people begin to ask questions. What's the basis for asking us for more taxes anyway? Taxes ought to be paid, but I think I need to pay taxes that I know that are certainly going to be used for the purposes of development. In any case, as I said again, we should not look at taxes only in the terms of only government should appropriate it and use it on our behalf, when we know it has never been efficient anyway. We should be able to give people some modicum of so that people can say that, okay, look, at least I was giving this debate back here in the States. You know, I'm in the States 10 ago, right?
Yeah, yes. In fact, Paragraph was saying that your accent is changed a bit, given that you're not in Ghana.
A little bit of an accent.
Not quite. I'm not eating this morning, so I can't be slanging. In any case, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, I was just watching my favorite Trump, and I think Trump was railing yesterday about the fact that his people the government even taxes, even tips that are given to waitresses. I mean, I was surprised to think that the tip that you give to a waiter is actually taxed by the government. Isn't it strange? The kinds of things governments do across the world. Anyway, that they say when they don't tax until it fails to move. These are the reasons why I like Trump. People don't understand. People think it's because I'm woolly and I'm crazy. But Trump talks about taxes, making sure that people pay realistic taxes, and the government is drained of all the swamp. In any case, there's a lot of swamp in Ghana, and I think we need to drain it properly so that the executives, all these Article 71 holders who are dreaming of owning mansions and owning all sort of. By the way, shouldn't we start a movement to prevent politicians from buying assets, lands, and all of that? When I see all these things,
I think that there's something like that in the offing. Could you talk Blackwell and Co are putting a private members bill together?
Yeah, maybe we should start a small demonstration and then start it. Okay. In any case, so that's what I want to say preliminary on the budget. But I think you asked me another question concerning the budget. I've forgotten.
Yes, the other point about private sector participation, which I think you should be happy about, is the issue about tolling the roads. We're told that the toll booths will come back because they want to open it up later for private sector to participate in building roads. So it's when you toll it that the private people will be interested, which is fine. But talk to me about what you think about the road tolls coming back in 2025.
The road should have never, again, it tells us about the efficiency of government. I mean, who in his right mind really would have said something that obviously is not you're not even paying realistic rates for the tolls to actually be taken off just because of populism. So it tells you that nothing serious goes into the accounting process of even doing budgets. Well, not this current budget, because I think Amin is doing quite well. People say that's the way I start praising them and then they disappoint me. I'm not too sure Amin will do that, by the way. He knows he doesn't need to do that with some of us. But we're cut from the same cloth. In any case, the point I'm making is that nobody should have even thought of the idea of going against this whole train about what's it called, road tolls. And I'm happy it's coming back. But it should come back in an intelligently designed format, where the private sectors that here will be transparently procured to make sure that they do proper roads. I don't want to see these crotchety roads being done. You know, I saw there is Dennis Abuaji's post that every district will be giving some basically basic tools to do some roads, and I was asking myself, are we still doing this stuff? We do this stuff, the roads are not done properly. After the elections, everything goes haywire. In any case, I told him I need some of those roads in Sal anyway. After neglecting us, at least give us some small crotchety roads that run in any case, look, private sector is important, and I think road tolls ought to be brought back. So I understand that particularly. We should do that not just for roads, but even hospitals. I don't want to see the government doing Agenda 111, and the government alone is taking our money and doing funny procurement. They should not do that.
I see.
You understand? We should allow. One final thing I want to say about the budget. I was elated. I don't know if you realize that before the budget was read, I made an interesting post. In fact, I was angry, and I said, how do we spend close to 4?
Oh, I think we lost Franklin too. Back into studio, we lost Franklin. I'm sure he will join us later or soon. Let me come back to the studio. Let me deal with you now. So road tolls will come back. We are told that property taxes will also come sometime next year, or we are working on them. I mean, property taxes, for example, have been things we've spoken about way before 2016. 2017, we were given indication that was going to happen 7-8 years down the line, and we are now saying that we are going to start, and we're going to start. We've heard it before. What is the real issue? Is it what people say, that government is not committed to doing the property taxes because a lot of the big buildings which will bring in the money belong to themselves and their friends, and so there's no real incentive of making these things work? What really is a challenge for property taxes, and also deal with the matter of the road tolls for me? It didn't have to leave, And frankly, and a lot of other people have said the way we took it away was actually senseless.
Okay, so let me start with road tolls. What I'm aware of is that road tolls, all new roads, especially the roads that are being constructed now, are going to be tolled by the future government, and we pray that the future government will be Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia from 2025.
No, it's not possible.
I'm also hoping and praying that there would be a lot more rethinking into the road tolling infrastructural work. And what I mean is that elsewhere in the world, you realize that roads are tolled digitally, and so you don't need a physical structure like we have had over here to have persons living with disabilities being in those boxes, and sometimes the casualties that it causes them. So my thinking is that there should be a lot more a digital drive around that, and a mechanism to be put in place so that all new roads that will be tolled from 2025 would be commensurate to the level of roads that have been developed. I know in other countries like Rwanda and even in South Africa, they pay a lot of money, about $10 or so, for about a 100-kilometer journey.
In Tanzania,
Yes.
about $500 for foreign trucks.
Exactly.
But we pay 10 cedis, 20 cedis.
Exactly. So you see, the real question to ask, and I'm glad Franklin raised it, is are we willing to pay the real amount as we're supposed to when government implements the tolling system?
But if what we were paying was not enough, you don't take it away in the manner we did and replace it with almost nothing. We talked about e-levy. But you don't just take it away like that.
You see, I don't know, and pardon me if I don't know. I don't know if it was a collective government decision.
Or it's a one-man decision.
Yes, that's what
but
I'm saying.
That's even more dangerous. That's even more serious if it was a one-man decision.
Then that's what I'm saying. What we realized.
But we all supported him. I mean, the government people came to support him. Nobody reprimanded him. He just did it.
What we realized was that the minister at the time had read the budget, and there was not a mention of road tolls being abolished.
And one man just decided to abolish it.
And then the next moment we realized there was a statement.
And he faced no consequences, which means that the system acquiesced.
No, for me, so that's why I'm saying, for me, I'm not too sure, but I'm not in cabinet, so I don't know what happens.
But you get some briefing.
I get some briefing, yes. But then
and given that this was so critical, if it was so, you would have known. You would have known.
From the observation, I'm glad that at least there were major constructions that were being done on the roads that already had tolls, and so it was important that those tolls needed to be taken away so that the constructions can go on. Okay, so if you look at Accra Kumasi Road, you look at the Tema Motorway.
But the Tema Motorway,
no, there's still some major construction.
No, but where the toll booths were, nothing was happening around those places.
Well, but then I know that there's construction ongoing.
The Kaswa, Weja Kaswa Road, nothing was happening there.
Yes, I can agree to an extent, but
no,
for me,
to an extent,
no, I agree.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with you. But I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. We are happy that now with the construction of these new roads, we're going to have a lot more mechanism and a system in place to ensure that we toll these roads. Now on property taxes.
But let's deal with the road tolls in a bit. So this thing you say, there was no indication that it was a government policy to abandon the road tolls or to scrap the road tolls. So why should just one man one day wake up and make a statement that no road tolls again, and that is it? And there was no punishment. That was a major government revenue, about 70 million or so it was making in a year, or 30 million, I'm not sure. That's causing financial loss. Just one man decides by a statement to say that there will be no road tolls and there's no road toll. That money, that's short for, how do we make up for it? And there was no consequence. And that is serious. And only God knows what other things have been done by individual ministers, not sanctioned by government, which we don't know about, and which is costing us a lot of money.
Well, Salom, don't take me to those areas because I'm not able to.
No, but you're a spokesperson on governance. Governance.
Yes, on the real scheme of governance. I mean, I speak on issues that have been briefed upon.
Yeah, but this surely cannot be good governance. One man waking up, statement,
and I
huge revenue source off.
I think I made my comment on that. I mean, that's why I say that in the position of my observation, especially when the Minister for Finance at the time had read the budget, there were no indications that the road tolls were going to be abolished.
You see, that point, it's a difficult point. The other point is that if it was not government policy, government has, reversed many things that people have done. Government could have said no, or maybe to say it nicely, no, it's in a pipeline, but maybe the minister went too early. So road tolls back in a space of a day or even some hours. But nothing was done. We ended up, destroying or clearing the road tolls. We didn't say we were going to use them for washrooms. And we defended it.
No, well,
we defended it, or you didn't defend it.
I don't want to isolate myself from it. I mean, it's a collective decision and it's a collective government. What I'm trying to say is that, we were constructing roads. And so for some of the major roads that were being constructed, especially the Accra and Sawam
so deal with me on
yes,
property tax.
Those roads, for me, I mean, there was important that we needed to look at that. But I mean, I can agree with you to an extent on those other issues, but those would be bigger issues that people that have those responsibilities can respond to it. I mean, I'm not within that purview to respond to issues where I don't have responsibility about. Now, on property taxes, properties must be taxed appropriately. In this country, there are many people who have many properties, and because there isn't a proper taxing on properties, they go away with ensuring that they are continually having many properties. So people have properties at very high profile places.
We designed e-levy in a space of months. We designed COVID levy in a space of months, but I've not been able to design a proper property tax system for 8 years.
No,
that is inefficient.
I think if my mind serves me right, I chanced upon a document that...
But we don't know.
No, that's what I'm telling you.
But it's not in operation.
Yes, but I know that there's been some conversation around property taxing because we want to be able to marry your properties that you have in very affluent places, because people have multiple properties in very, very affluent places and they are paying less for what they are supposed to pay on a year. And so I'm aware that there are some conversations ongoing, there are some paperwork that is ongoing to ensure that people pay the correct property taxes that they are supposed to pay, which is why for me it comes to some of the vision statements of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in sending a delegation to Eritrea to be able to look into their taxing system. And the future government is wanting to have that space within which you can be able to effectively really ensure that you tax people on what they have and on what they do.
Very well. Fred, COVID tax, road tolls, property taxes.
Yeah, Solom, before I come to this, I think that I disagree a little bit with the position that Dr. Bano took on this budget issue that we are discussing, especially when he was trying to discuss the issue of impact that government policies and projects makes on the citizenry. He makes the point that we cannot see impacts oftentimes immediately, and that some of the impacts could take forever, even after we are dead and gone. I don't think that in the context of what we are discussing, we can make that generalized argument that impact cannot. If government invests money in road infrastructure and I move my car, I should be able to see that either some construction is going on or it's been completed. So then I feel the impact of the road I'm using. My car is in a good state. I don't need to visit Abotokai every now and then to go and buy spare parts, right? If government has injected so much money in agriculture, then my expectation is that when I go to the market, there will be a lot of food that I can buy at an affordable price. We have storage facilities to keep the food and all those things. And so it is not enough to announce how much money we are pumping in a particular sector, when in reality, we cannot feel the impact of that particular money. And so the argument he makes, and sometimes it's not too good when there's a wrongdoing or something is not going well, then we are quick to generalize, and then we pull the lifespan of the issue. You see, the essence of elections is to bring about change. And that is why every 4 years, per the constitution, you have to go for elections. And all political actors will come promising, telling you what they have to do. So if you come now and argue that, well, maybe this problem was there long before this government came into office, and so if it's happening today, yes, we can look at it as a general issue. The question I want to ask is, what did you promise? You know about the problems and you intended to solve it. That we are not adding value to our produce, that we are still exporting things in their raw state. These are the things. And one of the cliches then, Nanado, that we want to change our economy from the Georgesburg economy, to economy that will produce and all those things. So what has happened? Nothing. You understand? Now, coming back to the road tolls issue. So I'm sure all of us around this table and our viewers, majority of us have traveled abroad. And we know what road tolls are doing to people's economy, money that people are paying on road tolls. I had a serious problem with some of the road tolls, the tolls that we had in this country. One of the roads I complained seriously about was the Dodowa Road. So how does it make sense to you that I get to a toll and I pay money? Even the very spot I'm standing to pay the money.
You're standing in pothole.
I'm standing in a pothole. Right? And then you ask me to pay me. That money is meant to fix the road. And you are not using the money and asking me to pay. If I travel to the US and I'm driving from one state to another state, I can virtually even close my eyes and drive because the road is well demarcated, the road is well fixed and all that. So if you ask me to pay any money at a toll booth, I will pay without even thinking about it. But the situation we have here is not the same. I don't know the last time you traveled on the Accra-Tema motorway. One of the roads I try to avoid every day. I'll prefer to go and pass through some Lugu roads and get to Tema than to the Accra-Tema motorway. Because I see it every day. I say, what? A death trap. How on earth do we build a road with concrete? And then when there's a pothole and you want to fix the road, then we go and put bitumen over there. And so sometimes you sit back and ask yourself, the persons who do these things really, is it real? Do they really think about it? One of the things we have done over the years that we need to look at going forward, if indeed we are going to reintroduce these road tolls, is the fact, why do we privatize some of the road tolls? And Salom, go and do some investigation and find out the percentage of money that goes to the persons that we privatize the road tolls to, and what comes to the road fund or the ministry. You'll be surprised. So it's as if the road tolls has been created for private persons to make money, when the fund itself that is the money is supposed to go back into for the purpose of repairing and developing the road, very little goes in there. Look at a bridge like Adomi Bridge. Do you know the number of cars that pass there every day?
And there's no toll.
And look at the Accra-Tema motorway, all these long vehicles that are going to the landlocked countries that are using our roads. Like you rightly said, how much are we paying? And it's understandable why Ghanaians will complain when you ask them to pay so much, because they are not paying for value. I pay money, the next moment the road is terrible. Now, the issue of the sector minister issuing a fiat and asking that we stop paying tolls on our road, I believe is an issue that we'll visit one day in future. Anybody can block it.
Is that a threat?
I'm not, who am I to threaten anybody? I'm not threatening anybody. But the reality is that a budget was presented. In the budget, the government stated the source of revenue that they are going to use to do development in a physical year. Then one evening, around 12 midnight, one person issues a statement and say, but from today onwards, we are suspending all the tolls. And so the question is, where do we get revenue to do the things that were provided for in the budget? And if you tell me it is just one person, right? Why do you have a chief of staff? The duty of the chief of staff is to rein in all the appointees and the ministers. So if the minister has taken a decision, and that decision is not popular with the entire government, it's not a decision from cabinet, then the next thing we would have expected is that the chief of staff will quickly come and issue a counter statement. Or we'll call the minister to order and say, go and issue a counter statement. But we didn't hear anything. And so there's no way you can exonerate the entire government from the decision that was taken by the minister. But you see, the sad thing is that, when was this cancellation done? When they were about to introduce the e-levy. Is that not correct? They told us that the e-levy was the panacea of all our problems. And that once we introduce the e-levy, we are going to rake in so much money, and that we don't need the toll booths again. Meanwhile, in one vein, when they were in opposition, I heard Malam Baumia goes around telling people that, don't worry, we don't need to go and borrow money from Ghana. All we need to do is to build our roads. Once we build our roads and we toll our roads, we are going to rake in a lot of money. I think I support any position that we need to toll our roads, but we will not toll our roads in this current state. Can you imagine what will happen if the Eastern Corridor I've been talking about, right from Tema all the way to Paga and beyond? Salom, if we can have a dual carriage road, and for every number of kilometers, there's a toll. Toll booths that don't create traffic and all that. Every Ghanaian will be happy. Now, the problem that I'm having, some of the tolls that now are within town, when they were first situated there was no township there, right? But now the community has expanded and has catch up with the tolls. And so, take a toll booth like, again, the Dodowa Road or even the Kasua Road. So, if I live beyond the toll booth, anytime,
every day we paying
every
tolls.
day I move out.
When the one who lives just after it will not.
You will not pay. How fair is that? And so some of those tolls, we should consider moving them away from town to the outskirts of town. Then we know that really you are applying the road. But you can't put the toll booth in the town. Somebody who lives in the, what's the name, the Ebri Road. So people who live
around the
Ayi-Mensa area, anytime they have to come to town, they have to do a U-turn. So does it mean that if I have to come to town 10 times in a day, every time I pass I pay toll? It doesn't make sense. So one, let's learn best practice, electronic tolling system. People can pay in advance.
And a fair tolling system as well.
A fair tolling system. University of Ghana, people pay in advance. They have the when you get there, you just show your card, and within a few seconds, it opens up for you to move. I think that we can emulate this across the country. And my last point on this issue is that all the money that we make from the toll should go to a central pool. At the end of every year, every quarter, Ghanaians should be told how much money we have made from every. I think somebody should be accountable. How much
goes to
money
the road fund.
And I'm saying that because we have privatized it, the money that goes to Get Fund is barely a quarter of the money that is generated. And so the money ends up in private people's pockets, which is not fair for the country.
Very well. Let me talk to Franklin briefly. He was making a point when he went off. So Franklin, you conclude your point, then I'll take a break, and then I will move to politics. Franklin, yes, welcome back.
Yes, I was just going to make the point that about revenue sources. Before the budget was read, I made a passionate appeal concerning the substitution of some of the things we spend money on, really. I mean, I thought this was a no-brainer. That's what we should be doing anyway. So there's this jute making, the bags that I used to, the sacks that I used to bag cocoa. I was mortified to learn that we spent close to $50 million importing them. And I'm asking myself, can't we make this here as well? This is no-brainer. As I understand, the minister has incorporated that as well. I hope it goes to the right person to do this business. The transparent process of making sure it's awarded to the right company. We don't want to hear any one-man show start. Okay. Then the other thing I suggested was this property tax. For the life of me, I don't even understand. When I studied land economy many years ago, at least we were made to understand that if you did proper land use plan, it follows then that you'll be able to charge property taxes. Well, we don't do the first one, but we still think we should charge people property tax, which somehow is okay, we should pay. But you should pay realistically, and the realistic rate must be based on proper assessment, value properly assessed. Unfortunately, there was a company that was given the opportunity to do it. It got bungled out of the process. I think they did a poor job. And as I hear, it's been reintroduced in another way. It also has to be transparently done. And I think we should do it properly. That's what I was going to say.
Great. Thanks so much, Franklin. I take a short break. When I come back, we switch topics and look at politics. NDC launches a campaign today, and Dr. Bawumia is also in the northern part of the country. This is the big issue. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. This is a big issue. We just discussed the issues around the budget, media review of the budget and all of that. Now we want to do some politics, mainstream politics. The NDC is launching its campaign today in Tamale, and the northern part of the country appears very critical in this election. The two main candidates are from that side of town, and the NDC, which is the opposition party, is always historically won massively in that part of town, the northern Ghana, not a particular region, but the whole of the northern Ghana. And this time around, Dr. Bawumia, who has come from that region and also the sitting vice president, is trying very hard to annex the regions there or to eat deeply into the NDC's fold. That will be critical for the NDC because the NDC needs to maintain what it has and rather eat into the MPP's areas to be able to win the election. The MPP will also be happy to eat into the NDC's strongholds so they can win. So that appears to be a key battleground. Dr. Bawumia, as we speak, is doing a constituency by constituency tour of northern Ghana. This week he was in those areas. He's still in, he's in the upper regions as we speak, I think. And so a lot is happening around that side. So NDC decides to launch its campaign in Tamale. I don't know whether it has any significance or if it's symbolic of anything. Fred Agbanyo is here, and he will tell us why the NDC is this time around launching its campaign in Tamale. Fred, tell us, why is the NDC, is there any particular reason why the NDC is launching its campaign in Tamale this time?
Well, Salam, I think that this is the first time since 1996 that I've not participated physically in any NDC campaign launch. I've always been there to see what is happening to myself. Unfortunately, for some reasons, I couldn't make it to Tamale this time around. If you have observed the way we have operated over the years, you would have noticed that we always try to move our activities around the entire country because we believe that we are a party for all people. We are a party that is able to go into elections, and out of 10 regions before now, we are able to win 8 regions. Somebody will say 8.5 regions out of 10. And so we are, fairly distributed and well represented in every part of this country. And so we thought that at every point in time, we should give, all the people the opportunity to see what we are made of. If I recall, the last campaign, 2016 campaign, I think we launched it in Cape Coast. 2012 campaign was launched in Sunyane, also Kumasi, one of them. 29 campaign, I think it was Nakra. So we have always moved around the country to launch our campaign. But I agree with you when you say that this year's election, the 3 northern regions or 4 northern regions are going to be a major and critical area to watch. More so because the 2 major candidates are from that part of the world. President Mahama is from the Goja land, and Malam Bawumia is from the northeast, the Wale area. I can tell you without any doubt that from where I sit and from all the research I've seen and from what is happening on the ground, I have no doubt in my mind that if elections were conducted today, President Mahama and the NDC is going to win the election massively. What we need to do now is able to consolidate our hold, make sure that there's no complacency, make sure that we do what we're supposed to do, and jealously protect the votes of the people. Once we're able to do that, I am very, very certain that on the 8th, 9th of December, when the Electoral Commission mounts the podium to declare the elections, he will declare John Dramani Mahama and the NDC as having won the 2024 elections. When you go to the 4 northern regions today, anything good, anything tangible, anything physical, anything development you can see in these areas are attributable to NDC's administration, either right from the PNDC days to the first, second, and this current NDC. If it is road infrastructure you are looking at, you can talk to the people from that area. Even for them to be connected to the national grid, electricity to be extended to that part of the country, it took the concern of the NDC and the Rawlings to say that they are also part of Ghana. Either two, they were not connected to national grid. So you go to Tamale, maybe there's a plant over at the hospital, and that's the only way they could get light. If you go to most of the communities today and there's water that people can drink and all that, it is the work of NDC. Today, as we speak, if you go to Tamale General Hospital, it has become, a referral hospital, so to speak. Either to, anytime anybody was sick from that area, he has to be transferred all the way to Ekonfanochi or Kolebu. Today, whatever treatment you can get in Kolebu, you can get it in Tamale. Whatever treatment you can get in Wa, you can get in Tamale. It took NDC to bring University of, what's the name of the,
UHAS or UDS.
UDS, we brought UDS to the northern part of this country. Today we have decentralized campuses, one in Tamale, one in Navrongo, one in Wa, and thereabout. So in the past, when you completed, any level of studies, you have to come all the way to the south before you are able to access university education. Now, right then in your community, right then in your region, you are able to access tertiary education at that level. And so the point I'm making is that if there is any government, if there is any political administration that has paid attention to the northern sector. It is the NDC. You can go and pick the NPP manifesto, and go through and see the promises that they made prior to the 2016 elections as to the things they were going to do in the northern area when they won the elections. Unfortunately, even the irrigation project that they said they were going to invest in, the Bagri Dam they said they were going to, the lower part of it.
Yeah, and the Palugu Dam.
The Palugu Dam that they said we're going to build irrigation, going to create employment. We are told about $11 million was spent, and when you go to the site, the only thing you see there is one heap of sand and nothing else. Nothing else. Meanwhile, that is supposed to be a game changer. And they campaigned on that, they made all the noise, and they hoodwinked the people into believing that project will come mainstream. Honestly, if that project has succeeded, it was going to affect positively or impact positively on Upper East region, on the Northeast region, and even Northern region proper. But to speak, nothing is going on. Even though some monies have been spent, they've not done anything about it. They promised that they were going to build one district, one dam. The last time I checked.
One village, one dam.
One village, one dam. The lady who was in charge of that particular sector came on TV to tell her, but what the money they gave her, we cannot use to build a dam. It's only whatever, something small they built over there. If you get to the north today, all of them have dried up. There is no water. Because the whole concept, the whole idea is that let's have dams over there. Because of the rain pattern in the northern region, they'll have water all through the year. Then they can go into some farming activities. They can have water to even feed their cattle and what have you. Unfortunately, it's a shoddy job. It was just an avenue for people to make money. Nothing has happened. They promised they were going to give every constituency $1 million. As we speak today, go to any of the northern constituencies and ask them if they have received $1 million. They promised they were going to set up a northern Ministry of
Northern Development Authority. Which they have done.
The ministry, they promised that the
Zongo Development.
The Zongo Development Ministry, whatever it is. But they have still scrapped it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's achieved this purpose.
It has achieved the purpose.
Maybe
have you been there? Last time we visited the excruciating poverty that will greet you when you get to the northern regions. Nothing has really changed. What worries me going to these elections is the campaign message of Malamba Omia and his people, where suddenly they have become very, they are preaching, they're playing the religious card. Oh, I am a Muslim.
Who said it? Who is playing
I've heard Alhaji Malamba Omia himself. I can
said
show you a video.
That he's a Muslim. So
he met the youth in the northern region recently.
And he told them that because he is a Muslim.
So now we also need, when you get to the flat side of the presidency, the only thing we have seen over there is the Bible. Now we need the Quran there. I have the video. His own words. I have the video. I can show to you. And I thought that when we have come to as a nation, we need to stop this division among ourselves. Because you don't necessarily need to be a Muslim to know the needs of Muslims. I remember when we were going to 2016 elections, and we promised in our manifesto that when we won the elections, we are going to have, when you go to every mortuary, we are going to have a section for Muslim. We agreed that per their religion, they don't keep their bodies in the muck like we do. But we also thought that it is not right for their bodies to be mixed with our bodies, so to speak. And so let's have a designated place for them. It became a whole major campaign issue. Now they have turned U10 and said they want to do the same thing. So let me conclude by saying that the northern region is going to vote overwhelmingly for the NDC in these elections. We are going to win the majority of the seats, not just majority, overwhelmingly in the upper west, in the upper east. Northeast is where they have the majority of the seats. We are going to challenge them to it. Savannah will be a no-go area for them. The northern region proper. And everybody is going to see what is going to happen. If our NPP, one of the regions rather I should be worried about is Ashanti region. If you check the data and the research we are seeing right now, currently we are running about 35% of the vote from Ashanti region, which we have never had 35%. Before. 35%, which we have never had before. And so for me, we don't want
internal polls.
Of course, you are conducting polls every now and then, and so we know what is available. And so we don't want to be complacent. As I said, we want to go all out there. When you kill a snake, we are told you have to cut the head before you know that you have killed the snake. We need to do what we need to do. The entire campaign machinery is in place. We are going to have three prone approaches. President Mahama is going to lead one of the campaign teams. The running mate, Professor Nana, is going to lead another one. The national chairman is going to lead another one. The other national executives will be moving around the countries. We have decided that this year we are not going to do the usual fanfare rallies, big rallies, moving.
Because you don't have money.
Not necessarily. It's not about resources. When they are going to elections, a lot of people will come to your aid, will come and support you. But the point is, we have questioned this over the years. What does it do? We are going to Tamale today. Largely, it is NDC members, it is NDC friends, and the rest who will go and congregate. I think that we need to get to the Ghanaians. And if you recall, when we were writing our manifesto, one of the things President Mahama did was to embark on what they call a listening tour. That let us get close to the people, let us find out from them what their needs are. But still, because as I sit here right now, what my need is not necessarily your need. What your expectations are not necessarily my expectations. And so the practice where in the past we have some 10 people sit in the conference room and then they think for the whole country and decide on what policy we must implement when we win an election, we thought that it was not healthy enough. And so this time around, the president met all the identifiable groups. We went to all the constituencies, the country, all the regions. We met the individual groups and all that. And so the manifesto that we'll put out very soon, you will see that it's all encompassing. Everybody will see a solution to whatever their concerns are.
I see.
I have heard our brothers, for instance, say that since President Mahama was elected, we have not had any major policy decision. You see, the difference between NDC and NPP is that we want to solve problem in NDC. They believe in slogans, right? Sloganeering. So once they are not hearing same from you, they think you are not doing anything. If you have a country that the fundamentals are completely weak, nothing is working, what point do you have announcing some Ethiopia things, mentioning big names, when the basic things like water for people to drink, you have not faced it? Problem like housing is still a problem. Water roads are still a problem. You don't have a railway system that is good enough. People don't have work to do. Go and check the World Bank statistics that they put out right now. It's as if majority of our people are going more into the poverty line. Unemployment is going up and up. How then do you say you are managing the system better? When you took over office, unemployment, just to land on this, was around 8.something%. Today, as we speak, unemployment is over 14%. So Ghanaians are going to look at their condition. They are going to look at their system. They are going to see what is going around them. And then based on that, they'll make a determination. The very good news, Salam, in conclusion, is that they have seen President Mahama before. They have seen his handiwork. And that is what they are going to use as a reference point to determine who leads us from 2025.
I see. NDC is launching its campaign today, Palgrave. So what it means is that the game really is starting. I'm not sure the NPP will launch a campaign. You guys have hit the ground running, is that correct? And so it means that the real fight starts now, maybe from today or from tomorrow. We will see what really the NDC is offering, and they'll hope to launch. I mean, launch from here and begin dealing with things, some of the areas you have covered and all of that, undo some of the things Dr. Bawumia has done and all of that. That should be exciting, and that should make the campaign, interesting for some of you or those of you in the heat of it.
Well, Salam, we wish the NDC the best. It's the opposition government. They've been in opposition since 2016, lost the 2016 election, lost the 2020 election. I'm not too sure what the 2024 election holds for them. My prayer and desire is that they'll lose the 2024 election as well, so that we can continue to be the political party in office to continue the good works that we have begun. Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, has done a first phase round of all regions, and we are on the second phase now. We're doing constituency by constituency the entire month of July and even previous month from June. We've been in the northern part. Today, as I speak, the vice president and flag bearer is in the upper east region, in Boku Central, in Garut, in Pani, and Pusiga. Earlier on last week, he was in Lampusi, he was in Nandom, he was in Laura. A week earlier, he was in Daboya, he was in Makarigu, he was in Solatuna Kalba, Bole Bamboy. A week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, he was in Tatale, he was in Sanguli, he was in Zabzugu, he was in Yendi, Pandai, Wulensi, Beribu, Nelelugu, Gambaga, Yoyo, Bungrungu, and a number of places. We are very confident that a lot more of the works that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, which is serving as a foundation for what the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party is going to continue upon is going to be astronomical. And of course, I mean, the Savannah, the Northeast, and the Upper East and the Upper West is tremendous in this general election. I mean, we mentioned One Village, One Dam, and I'd like to state emphatically for all the projects that we have done in Bole Bamboy, One Village, One Dam, the sites are here. They are in Sakpa.
But the question is, what is the state of it? So input and outcome.
So let me.
So what's the state of these? Because we can have the list.
No,
but it is not enough to just put in money, get it done, and that is it. What's the use of it? How is it impacting the lives there?
There was a rationale behind the One Village.
And is that achieving that? Because the concern is that they have dried up.
No, absolutely.
They have dried up.
There was a rationale behind the One Village, One Dam. And that was to ensure that in the bigger part of the climate in the northern parts of this country is predominantly dry. And so in the drying season, they can be able to do their farming. And I'll state, in Bole Bamboy, we have One Village, One Dam in Tempe, we have One Village, One Dam in Mankomba, we have One Village, One Dam in Dakpurugu, Konujuma, Mawuli,
you know these areas
Tesilima. I don't need to know the areas. I mean,
I am suggesting to you.
I don't need to know the areas. These are areas where these are there. Solar Tuna Calabar, we are in Solar. The dams are in Tola, Tari, Kumasia, Jelungon, Nasoyili, Jempile, in Damango, West Jamango. It's in Saw 1, Saw 2, Busunu, Yipala, Pali.
No, if you have to mention, we can't go through a list because it's supposed to be One Village, One Dam.
Of course, so there are really, villages, yes. And I need to mention in Bumprugu that where the flag bearer is today, as I speak to you, the dams are in Kinkango, Kumongbenga, Nabinkong, Binkuru. I need to. I'm mentioning.
The guys in those areas are listening and they are watching. So they know what the state of the dams are. We'll be happy to know.
You can ask them. The flag bearer is there now.
What the state of the dams are and what
today, where the flag bearer is in Tuna number 1, Naswan, Sambug, Mantanda, Bakini, Dobiyan, Tondo.
We get that. You have a tour list.
I have a tour list.
Yes.
And you mentioned Agenda 111. Look,
we have a tour list.
I would surprise you on the Agenda 111.
The question is
on the various projects that we have done, the stages where those projects have got into. Let me deal with Agenda 111.
No, but Agenda 111.
Yes, I'll share with you the Agenda 111, the projects that we have done. And
no, you are doing or you have done.
Oh, because but the construction is ongoing.
Yeah, so you've not done.
Look, okay, Ga East, 100% completed.
Which Ga East?
Ga East Hospital.
The one was used as COVID. Wait, what was used as?
Yes, what was used as COVID?
Is that Agenda 111?
Okay, I can give you. I can give you Agenda 111. Let me.
That was a hospital Mahama takes credit for.
I was building on the hospitals that we have done. I can come to Agenda 111.
No, but you didn't do.
I can come to Agenda 111.
Admit it before you move on.
Agenda 111.
You didn't build the Kwabena Hospital. Admit that.
No, but you didn't complete it.
We completed the hospital. If it's not finished.
Even the one hospital.
The hospital, you didn't build it.
We completed the one.
You completed what?
We commissioned it. We commissioned it.
You are good at commissioning things.
What I say.
You are good at commissioning
things. Let me focus on Agenda 111.
Mention them.
Okay. Agenda 111. There, you know, it's being built in zones. There are about 8 zones. Zone 1 is Central, Western, North, Ahafubono. Zone 2 is Central, Eastern, Western. Zone 3 is Greater Accra, Eastern Ashanti. Zone 4 is Greater Accra, Oti, Ashanti. Zone 5 is Upper West, Northern, Savannah. Zone 6 is Upper East, Northeast, Northern. Zone 7. Okay, no, let me. I'll mention the places for you.
No,
and I'll also let you know where we have got into in terms of these infrastructure or a percentage of progress.
In Northern Ghana.
Oh yes, I mean in Northern Ghana. I can mention in Northern Ghana for you to know where we have got into in Northern Ghana. I can mention all those projects for you to be able to see. In Northern Ghana,
you live in a country with only 4 dialysis machines, the whole country. MRIs, you have only 4 MRI machines, the whole country, and you are not sure about it.
So I mean,
you are here mentioning them, Bangladesh, you think that was going to it?
No, but these are
the point really
these are projects that are being done. So you mentioned in Northern Ghana, in Sisala West, in Northeast Jongo, in Dafiama, Busia, Isa, in Wa East,
and these hospitals in Saboba.
There are various stages of completion. Okay, various stages of completion. In
for almost
Nanumba
8 years,
South,
you can't point to one hospital you have built stock and delivered. 8 years.
In Savlugu now, it's 82% complete. In Lambusi now,
No, I'm
it's
not even sure
72% complete. In Nanton, it's 70% complete. In Daboya, it's 70% complete. In Wichao, I know Wichao very well. I did a lot of work in Wichao. It's 70% complete. In Saboba, it's 68% complete. In Wolensi, it's 56% complete. In Palbi,
is that what we are
it's 55%
interested in?
complete.
No, I mean,
in
using this
Sanglegu,
time
it's
to do this, so-
42% complete. In Golu, it's 40% complete.
So there are a number of projects ongoing.
Exactly,
all right?
yes.
There
The
are
number of projects.
number of
And look,
projects
the
ongoing.
project, I can share them with
yeah.
you. These are
No
all
problem.
ongoing
So
projects
the-
that are all going.
8
I share
years.
all
Let's not
of
be
them
able
with
to
you.
deliver
The-
one
the
hospital.
issue-
We would commission these hospitals. The president,
The
Nana
president
Addo
gave us
Akufo-Addo
12
has
months, not
stated-
even one.
The president, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, has
people.
stated that he will commission these hospitals
How
before
many
he hands
times-
over
how many
to
times
Alhaji
did you
Dr.
say that?
Mahmoud Bawumia, the incoming president of the Republic of Ghana.
Very
Inshallah.
well. Franklin, I mean, very interesting. But you know, what's your assessment of how critical the Northern Ghana electorate will be in this particular election? Two of the main candidates, Dr. Bawumia and John Mahama, come from the north. As we speak, the two of them are in that part of the country campaigning. NDC launches a campaign there today. How critical is the battle for the northern region in this election, the northern part of Ghana in this election?
Well, either way, they win, because whether Bawumia or John wins, they still have someone from their extraction, really, isn't it the case? The politics of tribe and ethnicity aside, I think it's just aesthetically nice that they are doing this in their own backyard. Otherwise, I have nothing useful to add, except to say that whatever they say and do there must impact on every aspect of our country. I mean, I understand. I mean, even here, they play that type of game. I mean, people from certain parts of the country may be given an opportunity. Depending on who you select, you know, you get an edge over the other candidate, and it's fine. But, you know, I'm ambivalent when it comes to this stuff. Libertarians are forward thinkers. We just don't think about tribe and ethnicity. We think for everybody. And so, having said that, I like to hear exactly what they'll be saying, which will impact the northern beyond everywhere. You know, it's sad really. If I look at the northern regions, they've been neglected that bad. In fact, there were times when in the literature, the hardcore poverty areas, if you mentioned them, you would have to include the northern regions at the time, the 3 northern regions at the time. Now they've been made into 6, right? I think this, if you add the upper east and upper west, then you add the 3 northern regions. Is it 5 or 6?
5 now,
6,
five.
right? 5. I mean, when you look at the economic profile of these areas, I mean, we should be able to turn those areas into verdant vegetation anyway. If you look at the amount of money that's been poured into those areas, not just by NGOs as well as some of the elites of those areas. It beggars believe that the elites of those areas are always making a lot of very critical noise, positive noise as well, helping the country grow. But in actual fact, going back there to their own backyard, they just for someone neglect the backyard. Wasn't it recently when we had what happened the NPP also did something called Savannah Development BBSA. The NDC also did this, and I remember not guinea fowls are flying, but vegetation was being cut to grow another vegetation. I mean, complete madness, really. If you hear all these development things that, and anytime you hear there's going to be a big summit in the north. I think my good friends at the NPP, Ken said he told me he was bringing some investors from Singapore and all of that. I don't know how that ended. You know, this whole idea of making certain parts of the country enclaves of development is quite frankly annoying and this very destructive use of our money. Take the entire country. Why can't these areas be capacitated to develop on their own? Should they always be held by the center? I don't see the point. There are elites all over the place, especially the northern extraction. We have very, very educated elites. They should be able to band together and draw a lot of investment to their areas and develop the country. I don't like the case that the northern sector has been used as a basket case. In the global poverty literature, when you look at some of the pictures coming from Africa, you see some of them from the northern extraction, they have become like global icons of poverty, where pity and aid and all of that. I don't like that at all, because these are resourceful people. Northerners are very resourceful people, very trustworthy. My dealings with most of them, I found them very, 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 very personal people, right? What the least they deserve is this politics of this deceit and politics of divisiveness. And I think we should take, so I don't care whether it's been launched in Wali Wali, whatever it is, or Tamale or whatever it is, either party should really be thinking clearly about not just regionalism, but the entirety of the country. That's what I think I want to see. I mean, look, as I speak in this, Fred, you're in the studio. I know you want to stand as an MP for SAP. I'm hoping you haven't done much for us, by the way. I have to tell you truthfully. When we were fighting in the trenches, I didn't see or hear you. But let's hope that SAL is being created. We are not happy, right? No part of this country should be happy that they are ostracized politically just because somebody decided that they decide what they want to do. I'm so angry and pained at this government that the things they did with SAL ostracized us, made us internally displaced refugees, forgotten about us. The AG mocked us. The EC kept laughing at us. And absolutely nothing is being done. Nothing has been done except the creation of a so-called district. Right. Be careful though, because I don't think that district has been created properly. It's still SAL areas. Don't be shocked when you see if the elections, the MPP comes and say, that area was not created properly. Anyway, we hope that the judge will rule properly on July 29, which is just a few days away. We'll see how that turns out. Anybody who was part of this debacle should bow their heads in shame. So while I talk about, I know I'm doing an example list, but it's only related to the subject we are discussing. I don't care which part of the country anybody launches their campaign or whatever it is. They must be serving everybody and equally because people pay taxes. In these 4 years, salary we've been paying those and taxes. And there are gorges all over the place, as if they are roads. So it's important that we deal with these matters properly. Anyway, I like to see in the northern sector, wherever it is. I know there are means of transportation apart from vehicles. We also have good motorbikes and all of that. Was it not the NDC that suggested they were setting up an enterprise or something manufacturing based in the northern part of the country to help this, these people, the northern people, my people, to be able to do quite a lot of things for themselves. These persons know what development is about. What they need is opportunity. They need lower taxes. They don't want the government coming around shoving tractors in their faces and telling them what they want to do. They know what exactly they want to do. We did a little project in the northern area. My good friend, his Royal Highness Mustafa, I've forgotten his other name, Sam, yes, shepherded us, and we did something for some of the women there. Imani, by the way, was it Sherbata? We're trying to grow some, and all of that. And by the way, you'll be surprised, the industry of these persons cannot be called into question. And I suspect that the least they want is politicians coming to placate them with fanfare, dancing amidst their poverty. No, they don't want that. They want proper development. That development that comes also within, that they can also lay claim. Look at the district assemblies common fund. When my good friend Ken capped it, it's like a hellhole. You don't get anything to these areas. They even struggle to get a modicum. I'm not talking about the north, every part of the country. Why should you be living like that? And then when there's elections, you go and do fanfare and say, hey, I'm from the area. I don't care whether you're from the area. Just fix the people properly. Let them decide what they want to do for themselves. Stop being in their lives. You tax them too much already, and they give them little. That's what I want to see. So don't come and placate people here. Both parties, by the way. In any case, they win. Whether John or Bamia, they win anyway.
I see. Great. Fred, so when you look at the northern region, or the northern Ghana, for example, there are some young politicians who appear to be doing so well now. So we have Damango, Abu Jinapo, we have
excellent gentleman.
We have Gushegu, even though he's having problems with his chiefs now. So Gushegu, we have the Deputy Transport Minister, Karaga, the Finance Minister, Yakaba Kubori,
Youth
and Sports Minister, Mustafa Yusuf, and Nantong. I mean, these are young people.
Yendi.
Farouk. I mean, these are young people who appear to be moving the region to become blue. Abu Jinapo won, defeated Mutawakilu and a whole lot. I mean, Karaga, the finance minister, won the seat. And these are people who appear to be on the ground, And it's not likely that they will relinquish the seats lightly. What is the NDC's thinking around this? It appears that when we say the North is turning blue, these are the guys there appearing to be working hard. And of course, we have the veteran Nitul, who's been there for a while, has experience, and trying to influence things even beyond his Bimbila constituency. These guys appear strong, and they appear to be the guys who may disturb you in the region.
Well, first of all, let me completely disagree with my brother Franklin when he says that when we're creating the district or the region, whatever it is, he didn't see so much of my involvement.
So when they were denied the parliamentary candidate or the MP, and they were fighting,
except that the approach we used were different, and our involvement were at different levels. And so it is not entirely true when he says that I was not involved. I was very, very, very much involved.
So you say he didn't see you?
Well, he doesn't need to see me, of course. He doesn't need to see me in their meetings, because maybe their understanding the way they thought that things should be done, perhaps a little bit deviated from the way I was looking at the entire issue. And so based on what I was looking at was where I was also putting my energy, my resources, and my time. But I don't know what he knows about this particular issue. The good news is that the district was created, it was gazetted. I went to the Ghana Publisher to go and get the document. Then when it came to the constituency, the CI was laid somewhere in September of last year, October of last year. On the 30th of November, the CI matured in Parliament after 21 sitting days. And so currently we have a CI 138 that created a Guan constituency. I'm very much aware that it's a case they are battling in court, in Accra, a whole high court. And the ruling will come on the 29th of this month, rightly said. All of us are waiting to see how it goes. Except to say that I have a major concern with these issues about issues of parliamentary elections adjudicated in this country. I recall in 1996, the Ewaso West Wagon by-election, when George Amu faced it out with Rebecca Adote. Adote was declared by the Electoral Commission to have won the elections. Amu went to court. Not until about a month or two to the end of the term of that particular parliament that the court declared that Amu had won the elections. How are you going to reverse that? What are you going to do about it? And this particular case that Franklin is talking about, they've been in court since 2020, when the election results were declared. Till now, we don't have a ruling on it. Even if the ruling comes on the 29th, and it is favorable to the petitioners, what are we going, or the plaintiff, what are we going to do moving forward? So we'll leave that one to the court and we'll see what will happen. But let me assure my brother Franklin that the only reason why all of us we want to go back to our community is that that's where we hail from. And for me, I'm not a stranger in my constituency. I was born, bred, and grew up over there. The challenges of my people, right from Akwafu to Sandroko, Lolobi, I don't need anybody to tell me. And the reason I'm there, how can we help galvanize the people, use our networks and relationship to bring about some development? Rightly said, go to the whole area. We don't have one motorable road in the entire district. Perhaps the road from Likwe Bakwa to Likwe Bala, that is the only road. All other roads are not in good place. If you are moving from his hometown in Lobi Kumase to Likwe Mate, at the point it was so terrible, the community people themselves to contribute money. Agbozome people had to contribute money on their own to go and get an excavator so that the car can move on that road. At the point you are moving from Abrani to Likwe Kofro there to Agbozome, there's a bridge there that is not in place. So the point I'm making, my brother, is that let all of us join hands. It's about development that people are looking for, and let's see how we can bring our ideas together and bring about the net development from to the people of the Guan district. We are wait for the court ruling. Whatever the court says, we'll respect it and comply accordingly. Now, the three northern regions, the northern region are talking about, and the names of persons you have mentioned for, and the roles they are playing in that region. Of course, nobody is going to discount them and what they are doing. I've always said that politics is about strategy and ability to adopt the right strategy and the superior strategy to outwit your opponent. We are not going to underrate them and what they have done. I know the role that people like Honorable Aruna have played over the years in the northern region. His influence in that part of the country goes beyond just his constituency in Tamale South. The entire the northern region, all straight to Upper East, Upper West. We all know his influence. Don't forget, President Mahawan himself was a legislator from that same area for several years. And these are the people who really, make sure that some development was brought to bear to that areas. So we are watching them. There's something very interesting this government has done in this last minute, even though the Constitution of Ghana provides for that majority of the ministers and deputy ministers must come from parliament. If you look at this last-minute appointment that have been done, clearly you will see that they are all election motivated, right? Then the whole thing is not really thinking about any development. How on earth do you go and appoint, for instance, the former deputy attorney general, my good friend Penga? Nothing personal about him, but I'm talking about the role. He's one of the parliamentary candidates in the Timpani and Upper East region. Now you have appointed him as a deputy to Bost at this 6 months to.
But maybe he has something to do there.
When it's what does he have to do at this point? When it's supposed to be in the constituency campaigning, and so you go to the office, they are not there. They are always in their constituency. Meanwhile, they're supposed to be dressed a salary and what have you. Now, if you go to a place like Zebila, where incidentally my wife comes from, you know, the current PC over there, they've removed the Honorable Kukufu from EPA, and he's said to be the chief executive. 6 months to general elections, you are a PC. And all of us know that PCs, or parliamentary candidates for that matter, we don't even stay in Accra. We always spend more time in our constituencies. So what is the rationale for some of those appointments? Is it just because they went to win parliamentary seats? The assurance I want to give is that, Shalom, Ghanaians are wide awake. I just saw pictures and videos of some equipment that have been, you know, I think they are around the Blaster Square, that they have bought some earth-moving equipment they are going to share to all the districts. The question Ghanaians are asking is that, if you could buy this equipment, where have you waited for almost 8 years? When it is close to elections, now you want to come and deceive us with a grader or a payloader or what have you. If you go to my district, as I speak to you now, the only thing you will see at the district office over there is a Zoom Lion container, one container. It doesn't even move, it's always there. You know, they virtually live in a rented apartment. Even money to pay the rent is a problem. You engage the assemblymen, they don't even have sitting allowances, so oftentimes they are not able to go. Nothing really is going on in the area, and I'm sure it's same with most of the districts in the country. Go and ask them the last time they received their district assembly common funds. You know, most of them cannot tell you. So if you are going for an elections and now you are going to buy graders, I'm told on Wednesday, as usual, the OMA are going to do the fanfare. Then we'll see them line up going to the various districts. This is not going to sway anybody. This is going to change the minds of Ghanaians. I have seen some videos, and I stand to be corrected, of mobile phones they are printed, you know, in volumes in China, and with Alhaji Baumia's picture behind it. Recently, I heard him in the northern regions when he was telling the children that they are going to bring mobile phones they can now buy on credit for 1 cedi, 2 cedis, and what have you. So clearly, there is somebody who doesn't want to give you a permanent employment where you can decide to use your resources to do things that you want to do. So in his mind, remain in your poverty, remain in the state in which you are. Once they come and give you a mobile phone, and every month you be paying 1 cedi, 2 cedis, he has solved your problem. That is where we are as a country. And so as I said, my brother mentioned a very thorough list of the one village, one dams, and the communities in which they have built the dams. One fundamental question, go to the place, and I know it doesn't travel a lot, like maybe some of us do. It's really pathetic, Salom, when you go to some of the communities and you are told this is a dam a government constructed, the agenda on paper, beautiful. Let's get water for them so they can farm throughout the year. You go there, the place is dry up completely because the dam is so shallow, they didn't have any means of being able to conserve the water so that it doesn't even evaporate. Nothing. Open dams. Some of the dams you go, even animals cannot drink water from there. And yet, conveniently, you come and sit on TV, and then we have a list of communities, names we cannot even mention, Bagbalagba, Gbobologbo, Bagbalagba, and then we said we are doing whatever it is.
Very good.
For me, it is Ghanaians. You see, in conclusion, Salom, in time past, all of us politicians could go to communities and say whatever I want to say and go away with it. Now, when I get to my communities, the kind of questions that people ask me, the people tend to appreciate the issues than we think we know. The people know the fact, the people know the reality. So it is not what we are now say on this television that is going to inform the people as to how they are going to vote in the next elections. You can throw in all the, I've seen it before, 2000, NDC. Why didn't we do in this country? We did everything humanly possible. Eventually, we lost the elections. In 2008, when we were going for election under President Kufuor, what didn't you do? We saw all the things that you did. You wanted to win. You lost the elections. 2016, we lost the election. The hard reality is that where we are now, there, not even the devil will agree that a man who says, I am just a driver's mate, who doesn't even have a license, And the comic relief, the comedy,
Very
everywhere you see Vasia, Nemame, Vasia, are we joking? Like, seriously,
Very well. Let me take a trip to Tamale. Our correspondent, Shawana Yusuf, is there. We want to just have a feel of what's happening there. Shawana, good morning. Welcome to the big issue. What can you tell us about what is happening in Tamale right now? Are the people arriving? Is the park getting filled with supporters? What can we see and what can we feel? Hello, Shawana.
Hey. Hello,
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. So the Tamale Jubilee Park this morning is almost half full as party supporters and sympathizers have gathered here to witness the national campaign launch of the National Democratic Congress in the region. The Northern region has been the stronghold of the NDC. Is you can just imagine the Jubilee Park, though that the program is anticipated to start around 1:30, the place is almost full, and the national party executives and other people are yet to even arrive at the place. But the place is almost full. They are not allowing cars and motorbikes to park within the premises, but the place is almost full. People are here in party attire, people are here selling party paraphernalia. The stage is ready, the media are set, and everybody is awaiting the arrival of the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress and then his executives to arrive at the ground for the event to kick start.
I see. So which top level officials of the party have you spotted? You said a lot of them are yet to arrive, but have you spotted anybody yet, around the place?
Yes. So after yesterday, I spotted Sami Jelfi at the event ground while they were putting things in order. I also spotted Joseph Yamin, national organizer of the party. We have Malik Basintali also here. I saw Joshua Alabi was also in attendance. And when I spoke to Sami Jelfi, he tells me we should expect all the party executives at the national level in this afternoon's event in Tamale, coupled with the presence of all the members of parliament from northern Ghana. Talk about northern region, upper east, upper west, Savannah, northeast region. All of them are expected to be in attendance this afternoon.
I see. But when you talk to the ordinary people in the town, what are they saying? Are they feeling that there's something big going to happen in Tamale, or they are not bothered, they don't care, that is not their concern? What signals do you pick up when you talk to the ordinary people there? What is their expectation really?
So the people here are telling us that this is the biggest thing NDC could have ever done to them as the stronghold of the party by bringing the launch of their national campaign to the region. They are expressing gratitude for this event being brought to the region. For such a great occasion, they get to have everybody from the national level coming down to the north region for this great event. So they are hoping that in December things will change. They express their frustration towards the way the economy is being handled currently and how they are actually feeling the pinch of the economy. They can't wait for change come December 2024.
Very well. Thanks so much, Shawana. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure we'll come back to you pretty soon when we begin our coverage of the campaign launch proper. Thank you so much, Shawana Yusuf. She's our Northern Regional correspondent. She just brought us a quick update on what's happening around the Jubilee Park where the event itself will be held. Yeah. So let me say that at 1 o'clock, when I leave at 1 o'clock, we'll begin our coverage of that particular campaign launch. My colleagues will be here. We'll bring you every single thing you need to know about the NDC campaign launch, the side interviews, the real voices, the key players, and everybody who matters, and every single thing that matters, every blade of grass we say will be covered, and you'll be excited as always that you remained with us. We have a track record in covering elections and election-related matters, campaigns, etc. and this will not be different. It will even be better. So you have your dials locked on 97.3 City FM and also ChannelOne Television, and we'll bring you all of that. Yes, let me speak to you now. So, I mean, he's spoken a lot about all of that, northern region, what is being done, etc. It does appear that these young guys I mentioned, I mean, Abu Jinapo, Mustafa Yusuf, the finance minister himself, you know, appear to be the guys really hoping to be tilting or hoping to tilt the region in MPP's favor. But the NDC, of course, is working hard to take those seats back. Bawumia is there. What's the signal you're getting from the region? People think that the presence of Bawumia on the ticket and the fact that he's been in the region for a long time will do the trick. What signals are you picking, despite the economic difficulties that Shawana says the people in the area are complaining about?
You know, Salom, all politics is local. And the best of politics is when people can easily identify with you in a language that you understand and in a language that they understand. You should see the overwhelming excitement when Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, our flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, has been doing this door-to-door, one-on-one, constituency to constituency. It's overwhelming. The numbers are huge. And I mean, for me, I look at the Minister for Defense, the Honorable Dominic Nitihu, how he has worked hard in his constituency, how he's leading the entire charge. I look at the Minister for Finance in Karaga. I look at Abu Jinapo himself in Damango. I look at Farouk in Yendi. I look at this plethora of people. And for me, I'm convinced, beyond reasonable doubt, that the northern sector, the upper east, the upper west, the northeast, the savannah, is going to be blue, extremely blue, for the New Patriotic Party. And we are not relenting at all.
Some interesting campaign promises that your flag bearer has been making to the people there: 1 city, 2 city, 1 city, 2 city.
Let me explain to you. Let me
me
explain to you. In the context of the local politics, most of the people there would usually use a phone that is about 100 cities or 200.
But it's just
cities.
smartphones.
No, but they are smartphones that are, you know, they are smartphones that are not they are smartphones that are not like the smartphones we have. They are digitalized smartphones that are almost like young phones that you can access WhatsApp on. You understand? Because they are the keypad ones. And so if you are buying something of that sort for about 300 Ghana cedis or 350 cedis, and then there's a policy put in place such that you're able to afford it.
You pay 1 city, 2 city. You need 300 months to pay for that.
But then you see, it's an example, okay? Elsewhere in the world, you know, in London or in Asia, people buy phones as you go. You don't use. No, they don't pay 1 city, 2 city. You don't use.
So why is it 1 city, 2 city?
He's given an example. Okay, in the framework is that, yes, of course, you can get a smartphone for about 150 cities.
But is that a real need of the people? I mean, is that a campaign issue?
No, there are lots more issues that we have campaigned upon. I mean, we've campaigned on the digitalization agenda, we've campaigned on the tax reforms, we've campaigned on the fact that we're going to create a lot more jobs for young people in software, in a number of things. We've campaigned on the mining sector, we are setting up the mining bank, number of things that we have campaigned.
But for the locals in those areas, that's what is important to them.
No, there are a number of things that are important to them. It's just that the media has picked up this 1 city, 2 city, 1 city, 2 city.
But you see, the problem is that it's never going to be 1 city, 2 city.
Of course.
But somebody listens to that and the person votes for you. And now it doesn't happen. It's not 1 city, 2 city. And the person says you've lied to him.
It's not something that
you see,
will not
the person will say you've lied to him.
It's not something.
It doesn't help the tag that the vice president carries.
No, it's not something that will not happen.
The 1 city, 2 city, you are standing by it?
I'm confident.
That they will pay 1 city, 2 city for a phone for 300 months?
No, not for 300 months. I mean, but the government can always come in with a quota.
So you are saying that government now will support?
It's not feasible.
To be honest,
you are telling that government now will support the cost of the phones.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you put a mechanism in place, okay, where you have either spoken to the telcos or you have spoken to the manufacturers, and you are aware, really, that yes, if people are paying 2 cedis and an organization is augmenting with a certain amount of money, in a few months you realize that people will have their mobile phones. Okay, but I want to tell Fred in his region, he's in the Guan region. Okay. The Guan region is
Oti region.
Good.
All the
now
roads
you see all the roads. Of course, I'm going to mention it. 455.40 kilometers of roads. Some have been constructed, some have been resurfaced.
Where?
I'm going to mention them.
Yes.
Jasekan Dodo Pepesu Road, 56.4 kilometers. Reconstruction of Ketekrachi, Pandai, Nyanpani Road, and Pandai Town Roads, 40 kilometers. Rehabilitation of Inkonya, Rorapong, Kwame Krom.
But it starts from a place and ends somewhere.
Kwame Krom, Pando, Rora Road, 21 kilometer road. Upgrading of Bori Junior, Dodio Pombi Road, 17 kilometer road.
So the fact that some roads in the OT region have been contrary to
Asukoko.
Stop mentioning the names of don't know the
pronunciation. No, to mention. Asukoko. No, correct me. I'm glad that you are correcting me.
The point.
The place he mentioned. Lipe, Manti, Zolu, Mate, Zolu, Feeder Roads, 8 kilometer road has been constructed.
It is to be done.
It is not true. Constructed.
Completed. It is not true.
That's my point. Constructed. It's here.
That road is not bro.
Is it the one from there, or you believe you are
in Kwanta, Chelenga, 11 kilometer road. Ketekrachi, Buya Road.
The roads are not on your
No, of course, but this is data from the Ministry of Roads and Highways.
Yes, but there are times data like that comes from the ministries.
But
and later it is.
The president gave the number of kilometers road have built. The road minister gave us other roads.
You can send your correspondence.
Yeah, so that's what I said. We also do our checks.
I'll forward these things to you.
But he's from there. He's a candidate.
Yes, but I'm telling you that these are roads that have been constructed.
Yes, so we also do our checks.
When you sit in Accra, you are holding this data. You do a huge disservice.
I'll send it to
when you sit in Accra with this data, you do a huge disservice to the people. Because I'm telling you for a fact that this thing doesn't reflect on the ground.
So let's make progress.
If you want to move from Howe to Sandro Kofi, I've not seen any road that is as terrible as that. Just 6 kilometers from where to this is.
I've sent the data to you. This is data.
Don't talk about this. I am talking to you about reality.
We'll take a short break. We'll take a short break.
All the way to
When we come back, we will look quickly
at
the matter of the Paralympic team and what we can do. This is a big issue. Don't go away. Welcome back. Final lap of the program. This is the big issue. And some matter that has come up this week and last week, even though it happened sometime in April, has to do with what has become known as the Paralympic scandal. Some 11 Ghanaian athletes, Paralympic athletes, were to attend a competition or a tournament or an event, and it does appear, or it turned out that, of course, they got a visa, they went to the place. It turns out that they were not actually Paralympic athletes. They were just random people put together by who we don't know, with documentation which gave them the visa. Now, one of them is that their coach, we understand, died because of some issues he had, weather and all of that. One person was running away from the country and he was caught on a train, and 9 others, we cannot trace. So that is the situation. The minister says you cannot blame him. He will not accept responsibility. He thinks that the Norwegian mission or embassy did not do due diligence. He says that normally things like that, a letter will have to come from the Foreign Affairs Ministry to the embassy. And so that is the process. But in his view, it wasn't done this way. Of course, the president of the Paralympic Federation, Samson Dean, has said that his signature was forged on the letter and a whole lot. So it does appear that there was quite an elaborate scheme to outsmart the system. But that is what it is. We've had some major disgrace coming to us as a country. Fred, let me start with you. I know you're a young person. These are young people who traveled out of the country. And it's not new. It's not as if it's the first time sports people or so-called sports people have gone to a tournament and have not come back. A lot of that happens. Every tournament, people go, they don't come back. But this particular one is interesting because we understand they were not even registered for the tournament. They were not even athletes. We saw that also with some journalists before, and even the Australian Games, where the people were not journalists, but they said they were journalists. They asked them 1 or 2 questions. They couldn't answer, and that raised alarm. I mean, all of that happened. What's your thinking around this and the disgrace that's brought Ghana, and how do we deal with it?
You say, Shalom, as for this government, nothing really surprised me again.
Is it a government matter?
Why? This government, nothing surprised me again. Everything is possible. Everything under the sun is possible. But nothing hurts me than the sector minister who hurriedly organized a press conference and tried to exonerate himself and his ministry from this disgrace. So one would have thought that the first thing you do is to collaborate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and ask for a thorough investigation to be done into this issue, even before you speak. But he was too much in a hurry to prove his innocence and how he wasn't involved in all these things. Is it known that the same thing like rightly referred to, that during the Sydney Olympics Games in Australia, under this same government, persons were issued visas. They got visas from embassies. They were flown from this country into Australia. And during interrogation, they noticed that some of them cannot even write their names. They don't even know what a microphone is. And yet, they were there in the name of what? Sports media. A committee was set up to investigate the issue. Till date, not even a church fly has been held culpable. It's as if the people went by themselves. Anytime there is such governmental delegate who are traveling, there is something you call a note verbal that is issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that is often attached to the application, right? The question is, on this occasion, did we have the note verbal from Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Who was supposed to have done the due diligence? So my good friend Samson Dean tells us these guys forged his signature. It didn't pass through the sports council. The sports ministry didn't know anything about it. They were able to get somebody in Ministry of Foreign Affairs to issue them with a note verbal. They took it to Foreign Affairs, the Embassy of Norway, and visas were granted. How do you come on earth and blame the embassy? Because the note verbal should be enough for any embassy to believe that this list is emanating from the Ministry of Sports.
Very well. Just hold it there. Let me speak to Frederick Asso, who is with the Para-Athletes Commissioner on the National Paralympic Committee, Ghana, the Ghana board. Hello, Frederick. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, and I thank Ghanaians and the Nigeria CCTV, ChannelOne, for giving us this opportunity to come out with our view on this matter as the Athlete Commissioner who handles all para-athletes in this country.
Very well. We don't actually have a lot of... So just make it briefly for me. Where are we on this? Have we been able to identify the people who masterminded this disgrace to us? Where are we on this, really?
Thank you very much. And once again, what I would say is that, yes, the two people involved in this matter who facilitate the travel, I know them in terms of parasports. Emmanuel and Ernest Aishi is one of us. He's a para-athlete who was a former amputee footballer. Mauli Viwoto is also one of us who is part of the amputee football fraternity. But the 11 people whom Norwegian embassy issued a visa for, those people, I don't know them as the Athlete Commissioner.
So how about the coach? Is he a proper coach, or he was just given the name of a coach to be part of the team? Is he a proper coach, the guy who died, Mr. JC? Do you know him? Was he a coach?
Not at all. Not at all.
So he wasn't a coach, he was just named as a coach.
All coaches to all federations and associations under NPC sports, I know them.
I see.
From amputee football, para-athletics, cycling, judo, badminton, taekwondo, shooting volleyball, and the rest, which is 13 federations. I know all of their coaches.
I see.
And the so-called coach for that trip is not one of our coaches.
I see. So as Paralympics, as a member of the board and all of that, how badly has this event or episode affected your reputation as a federation?
Thanks very much. And there is one thing always I asked. We've seen the national security letter. We've seen the two guys who issued letter from the association, Sports Federation, Football Federation letter. We've seen our letter. But the purported forged letterhead of MPC and the forged signature of my president, we are not seeing that document out. So without that document, we cannot just be speculating it's a forged or the document came from the MPC office. Because AEC said that he has not forged that letter. Therefore, someone called Atungo or Atanga, he brought the letter for them to attach to their document to the Norwegian embassy for the visa, which Norwegian embassy refused them for the first time without attaching any high-profile letter to their document. So they asked them to go and bring a high-profile letter. That's why at the second chance given to them, they got a letter that is from NPC. Either that letter is a forged or is a reality. Now we don't know. We are not getting that letter to authenticate if it's a forged letter or a true letter from NPC office. Because I know my president is not in the country. He's been out for some time now.
Very well.
And the office is also saying, we have not issued any letter as such to the guys.
Very well. Great. I think we'll have to end it here. We'll speak again some other time now that there's some information trickling in. Thank you so much. We wish you the best, and we'll touch base with you.
Yes, but I want to clear this, that those guys who have run away as para-athletes, they are not.
Very well. I think you made that point.
So Ghanaians should be aware that they are not persons with disabilities who are in our records as sports people.
Very well. I think that point has been made. Thank you so much, Frederick. Thank you so much for joining us. Franklin, let me come to you briefly before I end with Palgrave.
I didn't really on a point. There was a point that when the guy died,
Franklin,
when the coach died,
quickly,
we are told
no, but that story is not true. It's not been confirmed that the family people ran away too.
But it was said by then.
No, that it's not been confirmed. I mean, we've been in touch with the family. I mean, it's not been confirmed. Yeah, so this is national disgrace. What are we doing about it? The Foreign Affairs Ministry, we expect, should come out and tell us what the procedure is, what they did about this and all of that. Nothing has happened. Nobody appears to be. The minister is busy running elections.
When I heard about this midweek, I was very surprised. You know, I was really, really very surprised. But I've seen that the Ministry of Youth and Sports has brought out a statement. Like Fred said, whenever anyone is traveling from government, the processes are that, especially with the sports, it varies from wherever, but at least your letters will go to Foreign Affairs for note verbal, and then Foreign Affairs would either process your visa.
So what
for
went
you.
wrong in this
I don't know, but I'm told that there are investigations that are ongoing.
But Foreign Affairs should come out and speak. Now the Minister for Sports is attacking the Norwegian mission, saying that they failed at their due diligence.
It was one attack.
Yeah, I don't think diplomatically
it was wise to do what he did.
I don't know the processes within which they went through to receive whatever documents for the Norwegian embassy to approve their visas. Okay, but what I'm aware of is that Norwegian embassy will not approve your visas if there are no due diligence. I mean, because most of the people who work in the embassies are security people. They are not just the consulates themselves are.
But don't you think our ministry for foreign affairs has been too quiet?
Well, that's why I'm saying that when I saw this, I was very surprised. I'm glad investigations are ongoing. I'm certain that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, IPR, the department should be able to bring out some communique on this. I'll do a follow-up after this meeting, and then I'll let you know what is happening. But
Thank you so much.
It's something
I thought we
that's
better have time to talk about the call for President Mahama to debate Malam Baumia. Let me say that call is very, very, very misplaced. It's so disgraceful. It's so disrespectful. For President Mahama, they have no business debating what. And the sad thing is that here, Dr. Baumia says that President Mahama is running away from him. Everybody knows in this country that when it comes to public communication, comes to debate, President Mahama has done this his entire adult life.
Yeah, but why
He's debated everybody. Why must he debate Alhaji Baumia?
Why not?
When a few years ago, the same that Alhaji Baumia, when Nana Akufo-Addo refused to debate President Mahama, says that we should go to the marketplace, go to the villages, go and debate with them what we have done. What has changed?
Good.
Well, my conclusion on this debate really is that anybody who cares about the patriotic Ghanaian people should debate.
But in 2016,
go and face
and in 2020, the same Baumia said it wasn't necessary.
That is what I would say.
Go and face the
media. This has been our show for today. Have a good afternoon, and let the weekend be great. See you later, some other time.